Yummy. Okay, well, welcome to an experimental idea. See, normally when I'm playing video games, I like to listen to YouTube videos, usually long ones, like something like EFAP or Timpool, Sargon of Akkad, something like that. Something that I can just play my game, listen to, and comment about to myself usually. So this time I'm going to try it with you, the chat. So buckle up, get ready. Description is in the comments below. We are going to be listening to the Adam and Sitch video about Joy Reid versus Chris Rufo. So just get that running in the background.
Hey now! With your boy PSA Sitch here, another Sunday live stream with everyone's favorite debate moderator, Reid. And today, we'll be watching none other than Chris Rufo, the man who's done the most to battle CRT in the political legal space. Going head to head with Joy Reid. I hate Joy Reid. She's so awful.
Well, that's because you're a racist.
That must be it.
That's because you're just a racist.
Do you remember Joy Reid was the person who, like, these blog posts came out that
Yes.
she
Coming
wrote
through.
like 15 years ago. She was being very homophobic, very very.
Okay, good. It is coming through just fine.
I'm sorry for making spicy homophobic jokes. Okay.
They
Instead
were
of doing all
jokes?
that, she,
I mean, I figured
yeah, they were
Minecraft
jokes.
is
She was
boring
saying someone
enough.
was like effeminate or something. I don't
So-
remember exactly what it
I
was.
don't know.
Make it
I've
spicy.
heard the black community is super homophobic. But,
Wow, that's very racist.
I mean, that's word on the street. I
Super
mean,
racist.
I've
Oh my
heard
God.
it. I mean,
Oh my
I don't condone it one bit
Let's start talking
whatsoever.
about race and IQ now. But no, so and instead of just saying like, oh, you know, I'm sorry, my opinions have changed. It was the times, blah blah blah. She says, no, I didn't write that. My blog posts were hacked.
I was hacked.
That's
It was
right.
Russian operatives.
That's right. Russian operatives hacked my blog from 15 years ago and changed words around, even though this is fucking like impossible. And they posted it on Twitter
Well, not
to get me
entirely
in trouble.
impossible,
I'm
but
innocent. I didn't do anything.
please, she's not innocent.
Those Russians are terrible.
Those Russian time
Why would they
machine
do such a
hackers.
thing?
Oh, I know.
Cause
So
they're
George Reid was bad. I
racist.
don't understand.
It's like if you don't like
It doesn't seem
CRT
like
being
she's that
taught to
big.
your
Why does
children
anyone
in our
care?
schools,
That's
It's
a
so-
lot
then
of work. Just
I'm
to make
sorry
Joy
that you
Reid
are
look
racist.
I know,
That's just
I
the way
know.
it
Seems
is.
like maybe she just actually did it, and was making shit up to get out of it. It seems like that's the more parsimonious
You think
conclusion.
that's the simpler explanation?
Yeah, don't you
Oh,
think?
sure.
I mean, I don't know.
I mean, look, time-traveling Russian seems very possible. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay.
Let's get into this video. What's taking so long? Why aren't we watching the video already?
I'm just giving
New
some
people.
background for
New
people
people
that
are
don't
here.
know who Joy Reid is. She's on MSNBC. She's a big main-time host lady.
Sure.
So, yeah.
We have also.
I mean, she's
so
definitely
Joy
on
Reid also
MSNBC, and
just posted
she's
part of this debate. but
Kinda,
we actually
I don't
tracked
know,
down the whole
big,
thing
I
that aired
guess?
on television, right? We're gonna go
Yes.
through the whole thing, yeah.
We can go through the whole
Part
thing.
of it was cut out.
at least parts of her
We go
are.
through the whole thing, and
Mm-hmm.
also afterwards she has a guest on who she sort of like shit talks the conversation a little bit after Rufo's gone.
Well, we do that, so
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
too.
glass
Well,
houses,
hers is
right?
even okay. First of all, when we do it, we're being gentle and hilarious and funny and smart. And, when
And
she does
for
it, she's
educational
being bad
purposes.
and evil and stupid. So it's very different. It's very
I got you. Makes a lot of sense. I like that.
In some cases, turning into a literal fight. like what you see here in Loudoun County, Virginia, where a public meeting over lessons on race and a proposed policy on equity for transgender students devolved into mayhem, with audience members displaying aggressive behavior. One man was charged with disorderly conduct and resisting arrest. Another was injured.
There's a guy in handcuffs here, and you're laughing, Sitch. Laughing maniacally as people are taken away to prison over this stuff. Well, I don't get it. Where's your compassion? Where's your empathy?
It's so funny that the way she frames this is like critical race theory. Look at these conservatives getting arrested and fighting each other in meetings about this. Look at these racist white people. Oh, so bad.
That's one of the reasons why I wanted to cover this, because all of our media is devolved into propaganda for the political parties, has it not? Look at this. Look at this. I mean, they can choose any clip in the world, right?
Yep.
They choose the guy in handcuffs. Is it me? Or is that a skinhead? Did they pick an actual skinhead?
It's just a bald white guy. Adam.
Look at this.
Students,
You're a
literal
bigot.
fight mayhem.
You're
Look
just
at this,
a
right there.
Members displaying
bigot.
Look at this.
It's just a bald white guy, Adam. You're just racist.
You know they pick. They're like, oh my God, use the skinhead. We have tape of a skinhead being carted away by a female officer. Oh, the optics.
Right. No, that's definitely why they chose it.
Never
This is
mind the
nothing-
fact that there's another skinhead right here in uniform. The
Yeah, I
other
know.
bald cop.
I know. But and this story has nothing at all to do with her quote unquote conversation that she's about to have. So it's all just a very dishonest framing to be like, look at all these racists against CRT, they're fighting over this
That-
one area that this happened.
That is the narrative. They are really going out of their way to set up a binary here, where if you're against CRT, you're like one of these race and IQ types. Like you're definitely like a far right racist white person, basically. That's the
Right.
narrative that they want to set up. You can't be opposed to CRT on ideological grounds. No, it's strictly the fact that you're racist.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
And it's so obnoxious because
Maybe it's
so
that I'm
clear
not
that
racist and
Joy-
don't want to be
Joy Reid
racist
has
that I
not
don't like
led-
CRT.
knows nothing about critical race theory.
Totally.
Whatsoever. Like, all she does is she interviewed Kimberly Crenshaw and some other people, and they just tell her a bunch of bullshit. And she, like a good journalist, just goes, "Oh, okay, yeah, I'm just gonna believe everything you're saying. I'm not gonna look into it whatsoever at all. I'm not gonna do any research whatsoever. I'm just gonna nod along and say, okay, yeah, conservatives bad, conservatives bad."
Sitch, but both those people are on her team. Why would she question them? Of course, they're bringing her the gospel.
That's what's crazy though. They're not actually on her team. She's not a socialist. She's a fucking.
Oh yeah. Well, she's on their team now. She doesn't know it, but she's on their team.
Yeah, she doesn't realize it. Yeah, she's just being a fool for them.
Yeah, it's fascinating the framing that's going on with this whole debate.
I gotta wonder if you can be
It's
a
interesting,
white nationalist,
mostly
can you be
because
a black
both sides
nationalist?
are arguing against racism. Like the people who are against
I don't believe in
CRT are
racism,
against
but
it on
all
the grounds
these
that
white
it's
people
fucking
need to go.
racist.
That kinda sounds
forms
like you're a
negative
nationalist,
stereotypes of
but
white people and
not
wants
white.
to, codify them in public education. They're like, no, that's racist.
Man,
I thought we've
America's
been fighting
better
racism
when we
our
didn't
entire
have all
lives.
these goddamn
And the
fucking
other
Americans.
side is they're under the guise of fighting racism as well. That you want to whitewash history. You don't want to tell America's complex past. We're fighting racism. We have to know these things. People who don't know their history are doomed to repeat it, and all that.
Right,
jazz.
exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, both sides are fighting racism, but they both want to stand across from one another and go, "No, you're the racist." It's like that Spider-Man meme. Racist. Is this good?
Exactly.
Is this good for
Racismus.
public discourse? I don't know
This
that it
is
is.
racismus.
I really don't know that it is. Can't we just all accept for a while that most people are not racist people? That don't
No, Adam, we can't.
Why?
Because then we can't levy the power of calling someone racist to
Oh.
gain things. Okay.
Oh, I got you. Is that what's going on here?
That's
It's
what's
just a
going on.
power. It's a power ploy.
Exactly.
It's always about power.
Oh my God, J Mac for $100.
If I don't have the power,
Thank you very much, Jay. It's very
then
generous.
I don't have the touch.
Thank you, Dad. What's up, you sexy beast? can't stay for long. Gonna take the kids to the pool later. You guys should check out Shapiro's Sunday special with Russell Brand.
Oh man, yeah.
It was a pretty good listen and probably right up Adam's alley. Anyways, adopt liberalism, reject regressivism. True.
Yep, that's what we're all about.
That looks interesting over there. Those little rooms.
Aggressive behavior.
Plus, I got this new thing to try out, so let's find out
That's
what it
you
does.
get. That's what you get for going
That's
bald.
what you get for being bald and white. Yes.
That's what you get for going bald and being white.
Okay.
Sorry.
I need you.
Not like that's
Here.
a genetic thing or anything. Not like that's out of your control, but whatever. Joey Reid's still going to use it against you.
That's right.
One
I
man
gotta
was
go
charged
find
with
some,
disorderly conduct and resisting arrest. Another
ore.
was injured. And we reached out to Loudoun County Schools and asked if critical race theory is being taught anywhere in the district. And not surprisingly, both the superintendent and the school board say, no, it's not.
Yeah, no, they're going to say, of course we're teaching critical race theory in our school district. It's just a super controversial topic. Let me just go out on a limb here and say, of course. Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing.
Someone put out this great graphic, and I retweeted it. And it was like a chart that showed, it was like 3 overlapping circles. And one of them was like critical race theory. One of them was like
yeah, I saw
social
that.
justice, whiteness studies, and something else like that. And it showed how a lot of these people, a lot of these schools will say, we're not teaching critical race theory because that's about law. We're not specifically talking about law. But then they are teaching all the other critical whiteness studies nonsense.
Yeah.
That, all overlaps with critical race theory.
The only, I think the thing people mostly object to is the racist stereotypes about whites, the whiteness studies.
No, I'll
all
fully
whiteness
accept the
stuff,
racist
white
stereotypes
privilege, all
about
that
me.
Stuff, I think is what they.
I mean, I have no problem. But
So I mean, I don't understand why you just can't come out and say.
when I was
"Okay,
working
this is what I don't want to be
McDonald's
taught."
when I was 15, I had a
Whatever you
black
wanna
friend.
call it.
His
Call
name
it
was
whatever you
Chad.
want. We seem to
Bad
be
Chad, we called him.
arguing. This is nonstop Sitch's law on TV.
Friggin',
We're just gonna argue
we used to be
definitions
throwing
of
around
words.
racist terms to each other.
So, but
Well, I mean, maybe they should just come out and say.
And it
"Look,
was more
we're
just
against teaching racism
terms of
in school,
endearment.
period." They shouldn't even say.
It was a,
I'm not sure.
hey man,
that's what they're-
what's going on?
that's what they
How's it
are.
hanging?
if you look at the actual
it's just like-
bills that they've come up with against
Like,
critical race theory, that's
How
exactly
can you
what they're
honestly
doing. They're like,
sit
"This is
there
racist here.
with a
We
black
have
man
laws against it."
inside of a hot
Right.
kitchen
No
But
racism.
and
But on
be
the other hand, people need a term to kind of unify around and to rally around. And I'm not
Okay.
sure, just saying, well, we're against teaching
Ooh.
racism. I'm not sure that that's going to cut it. You need something more specific.
And you're arguing critical race theory is that more specific thing?
Well, that's what it has become that. Whether
has.
damn,
it's appropriate or
this
not.
thing has got it
That's the
going.
argument here. And I know from our talk with Sam that obviously they're saying
Hey, it
Robin
still goes
DiAngelo
even when it's
and-
underwater.
and Abram X
Kendi.
Kendi are not in the critical race theory camp. You can argue that. Like the best interpretation I think
It's
what's
still going.
closest to the truth is that they're an extension. They're of the
Shit.
critical race theory. Like the critical
Right.
race theory basically implies all of these stereotypes that they don't necessarily just come out and say it. They're like, we're just teaching history here. Obviously, whites have been oppressing everyone throughout human history. We're not saying, that's related to whites
Right.
genetically or anything. We're just saying, we're just looking at the facts here. And then Kendi and Robin DiAngelo, they take it a step further and they say, oh, no, it's like inherent to white. It's
Right.
inherent to white people.
Well, Kendi and D'Angelo, they all, and all these people, they all work from the same assumptions of reality.
Right.
That critical race theory works off of that. We live in a society based on groups fighting for power, and that the
No,
groups
stop
fighting for
it.
power are based on racial hierarchies and racial dominance, and that whiteness is sort of this property that kind of infects all society, and that is inherently oppressive. So they're all working with the same worldview. The only difference is really what they focus on. They focus on very different things. Critical race theory obviously focuses on law more. Robin DiAngelo focuses on like white people overcoming their whiteness, and Kendi focuses on whatever the fuck he focuses on. I've never read any of his books, but so it's like a kind of like a distinction without a difference in a lot of these arguments.
The underlying argument that I see being made, though, is something I am conceptualizing as something like racial nepotism. But they never really come out and say it's racial nepotism. And I wonder how prevalent the idea of racial nepotism really is throughout society. Like, are people giving jobs out because they want to hire the white guy? It seems like we've moved way.
More like the
It seems
opposite.
like we're in the opposite direction. In a lot
Yeah,
of
exactly,
situations, yeah.
exactly. But if their whole worldview is predominantly based on this idea, then I don't necessarily know. I mean, if they're not even really measuring that, how do they make their argument that
Well,
that
that's-
is the world?
There, we saw this panel, the CRT panel, on like a Zoom conference or something, and the guy was saying, "Oh, the way that America has reacted to the January 6th rioters versus the Black Lives Matter protesters proves that we live in a white supremacist society."
Right.
And you hear that, and you're like, "What is this person taught? What is this person insane? What are you talking about?"
Yes, they are
All the
insane.
Black Lives Matter rioters, the people that are just rioting and not associated with Black Lives Matter, that were breaking and stealing into, breaking into buildings and stealing stuff, they're all being let go. They're all not being prosecuted.
Yep.
And the January 6th rioters are being prosecuted
Yeah,
by the
and
utmost
federal
extent of the
crimes,
law
yeah.
possible.
Yes.
So it's just like this is the problem. If you believe in any of these critical theories, they don't describe anything about the world objectively. They make a prescription over
No, I didn't!
the world
Yes.
that you buy into.
It'll be fine until the morning.
Things that prove that. That's just exactly like that conversation that we watched a few weeks ago with Will, and he was talking to the CRT people, and she wouldn't even have a conversation with Will unless he agreed and acknowledged all of her pre-existing assumptions about reality.
Correct. Correct.
Correct.
So you bring up an excellent point about the panel with the CRT thing and how he compared January 6th to the Black Lives Matter protest. Now, if he has a concept in his mind of racial nepotism, that's the kind of assumption you're going to get, right? Because
Right.
there's this, obviously white people are predisposed to let other white people off the hook. Therefore, nothing could come out of January 6th than a bunch of white people making excuses for a bunch of other white people. And you also would look at the Black Lives
Here it
Matter
goes.
thing as obviously these people are being prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law because
Right.
they don't have the racial nepotism. Yeah. So you come out with the wrong answers because you go
Exactly.
in with the wrong assumption.
Exactly, and that's always a good way to measure whether your lens is actually effective or not, is if it can provide an accurate perception of reality.
Right.
And obviously, these critical theory nonsense stuff has all failed, specifically in regards to these, the reaction to the various.
I like this thing.
Yeah, but they would argue that we're not seeing
I gotta build more of these things and then stick them in the nether and just let them go.
Yeah, but
There's all
just say
these
it's just fact.
excuses.
It's just fact. You say, okay, but wait a minute. All the people, I'm sure there's some.
Now, this
but
thing
most
is
of the
cheap enough.
people
I wanna know if
that
it goes
were breaking
right
into
through
stores and looting and rioting have
that.
been let off and let go. Okay, in regards to Black Lives
Will it go
Matter.
through the
And
lava?
yet, getting the people that are involved with January 6th has been like some crazy intensive process.
Sitch,
And-
you're wrong facts. You're
It's-
citing the wrong facts here.
That's the
It
problem.
still keeps going.
Just that reaction, just the public reaction, the public difference to the Black Lives Matter protest/riots, to the January 6th riots, completely destroys the critical race theory narrative.
Yes,
Completely.
they're so adamant though. Sometimes
Am I
wonder
being
if I'm taking
underneath
crazy
the-
pills. I'm like, I don't know. I feel. I mean, you're basically saying January 6th was worse than 9/11 here. And
That's what they're.
I'm
yeah, that's what-
struggling
exactly.
I'm struggling to see it.
Right, that's what they're saying. The whole this is a coup attempt, an insurrection, blah blah blah. All that stuff. And it's just like, if we lived in the critical race theory world,
I'm up
if
here.
we lived in Derek Bell's
I'm in
world,
this place.
then
Nice.
the opposite would be true. All the white people would be defending all the people from January 6th, and the police would have been out there in the streets beating the crap out of black people and white people siding with Black Lives Matter during the protests and the riots.
Yeah.
I didn't think I'd find another way through here.
It's just so frustrating. It's so frustrating because the media just feeds this lies and stuff to the public, and they just eat it up.
They eat it up. They love it. This is this is their entertainment.
I know. It's disgusting.
Critical race theory spurs heated debate.
John Smith for $9.99. Thank you very much, John Smith. John says, Sitch, I'm so glad you survived the condo collapse. When I heard most of the residents of the condo were Jewish, I feared the worst, but I suppose you can't get smushed if you're already too deep. Thank you, John. That's right, there's some insane...
I saw it.
Yeah,
Wow.
there's completely insane condo collapse in Florida.
Boy, that would have sucked if I logged on and found out.
I was
Whoa.
dead? Yeah, that would suck. That would suck a lot. Yeah, I agree.
I should have probably reached out and made sure you were still alive, but I figured.
Oh, it
It
kept
was
going.
like beachfront property.
Yeah.
He's good. He's cool. He'll text me if he's dead.
Raucous school board meetings are one result of a national campaign by political operatives to
No way.
eradicate curriculums on racial and other forms of equity, which
Political
I'm
operative.
sorry to pause.
I
but
know you
I
pause
mean,
it a second.
The framing is just.
And now
off
on
the
it goes.
charts
Right.
here. The immediate
just don't
attempt
care.
To frame this is like, no, they don't have any grievance about teaching racism. To
Okay,
their
do I have
kids.
everything?
It's
Because I'm technically
it's just,
fireproof.
You know, a big political operative.
I'm just going to make sure I pick
Yeah.
up everything that
That's
I
going to come
do
up,
want.
that term, political operative
Oh, again and
conversation.
again. Yeah.
mind you, is not the same thing as critical race theory. One of those operatives,
Yeah, I
critical
go.
race theory opponent, Christopher Rufo, joins me now. And Christopher, thank you so much for...
She never gives him a chance to even articulate his argument. Well, she
One
never.
of the
she never-
operatives is here right now.
She never explains his counter argument either.
I know.
Chris comes off great in this interview, though. Even in the end, when he compliments her, I'm like, oh my god, this is. He's like so. The rhetoric is so good. Have did you end up watching his critical race theory video?
Yeah, I did.
It's like pure propaganda. It's
Think
like
I'm going? There we go.
dark brooding music.
Yes.
They're coming. Run! Hide under your bed.
Right, but I don't think it is very propagandistic in that way. It's got all the music and all that stuff, but I don't think there wasn't anything I detected that was like a lie or
Okay.
misinformation.
So I just do this.
Is
and I
that,
go in here, and
I
I
always
just,
think
you
of
know,
propaganda
toss out all
just
this crap.
appealing more to the emotional
Stuff I
component
don't
than
need.
to the actual argument.
No, I agree with you. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
In
and I
my
just go
mind,
straight through.
like
can
if
still
you're
be
being
true in
emotionally,
propaganda. Yeah.
if you're being more like a little bit emotionally manipulative with music, or you got the scary like soundtrack going on, and you have the dark filter over the image, and you show the crying girl, on the field,
Yeah.
as her house is burning down. Like, yeah, it's not great, but if you're not lying about it, it's not awful.
Yeah, that's
So I kind of make the distinction.
Still
that is
going.
an important distinction that I thought I should make. Picking the skinhead getting arrested was obviously like it's a propaganda play, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They
There we
could
go,
have
I'm
picked
finally going.
the hippie getting arrested. I don't know who actually got arrested. So.
Joy Reid, one-on-one with critical race theory opponents.
for making some time to be with us this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so let's start out. Do the elephant in the room. So when you and I started off on a little bit of a Twitter beef. I talked about you. I quoted you in an article that one of our great journalists here at NBC had.
When the content of
See,
Us
I'm
goes
okay.
off the charts, I always think this person's nervous. She's dropped like 15 Us right there.
I mean, it's very rare for the host of one of these shows to get involved in like a debate with someone. Usually, the people they have on are just people they agree with.
Correct. Yeah.
Quoted you in a piece, and I quoted that on TV. And then you tweeted that you wanted to come on the show and said, I didn't have the courage to put you on. Now, I will just note that Twitter is a hyperbole zone. So, whatever. It's all water under the bridge. But I just want to
Why would you admit that? They're like, oh, we had a Twitter brief, and you said I wasn't brave enough to have you on, but I had you on.
That's
Check
exactly.
me. Like,
No,
it's so
that's exactly
pathetic.
why she brought it up. She brought it up because
so
she's
lame.
bringing the Twitter beef into real life here.
It's
She's saying,
so
listen,
pathetic.
listen, you accused me of being a coward, and I am right here proving that I am not the coward you accused me of. That's the only reason to bring it up. It really is.
It's so lame. Oh my gosh.
It's just drama. It's total drama.
But it's not. It's. Have you ever seen the movie Big
Hubris.
Trouble?
I probably a long time ago. Who's in it?
Patrick Warburton is in it. The guy from Snatch.
Oh yeah,
Tom
yeah,
Hanks.
yeah.
Remember, there's a part where like, whenever they turn on the radio, the sports hosts are talking about how whenever the Florida Gators, this takes place in Florida, are losing a football match, their fans are too afraid to call in. And the joke is every time they turn the radio, there's a fan saying, "Well, you said I'm too afraid to call in, so I'm calling in." And the radio host says, "Oh, okay, well, what do you want to talk about?" "Well, I don't want to talk about anything. You just said I was too afraid to call in." And it's just like every time they turn the radio, that's what you hear. And it just, whenever someone talks like this with Joy Reid, saying like, "Oh, you said I was too afraid to have you on, so I had you on." It's like, okay.
It obviously worked.
Okay, well, I'm headed back.
Yeah, it obviously worked.
Excellent.
Well, that's just even another level to this, is that her response to Rufo calling her out was her saying on Twitter, "Oh, well, why do you think you're entitled to be on my show?" Okay. And
Right.
yet now she has him on the show, so I guess it worked exactly the way he wanted it to work.
Yeah, he's playing you like a fiddle, Joy.
Yep.
Like, and not only that, at the top of your show, you're admitting it. Nice move. Excellent optics.
Get to a couple actual things. Why would I need courage to have you on? Are you like an expert in, race or racial history? Are you a lawyer? Are you a legal scholar? Is that part of your background?
Oh my God, this is so good.
Why would
Jesus.
I want to answer the first
Why
question.
do I need to
Why
have
would
you
I
on?
have to be courageous to talk to you, you fucking loser?
You nobody, you absolutely nothing burger.
Oh my
Let me
god.
point out the fact that you're actually nobody to no one.
And why? That makes her look bad too, because then it's like, well, why are you talking to this guy in the first place? Just because he insulted you on Twitter? Like,
I
what
know.
the hell?
That's exactly
So
why.
weird. It's
She's so stupid. That's what's really bizarre about this. She's really dumb in how she handles the situation. Or maybe she's just
Yeah.
completely emotional about it. Her
Yeah, she's
elephant is taking
triggered.
over. She's very triggered. Yeah.
I'm Joy Reid. I have 2 million Twitter followers. You bow down. You get on your knees.
Bow
Try
before
and
your
come on my
Lord
show.
and
Hey, come on my show
Master.
now.
Master.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's my only
so
master.
funny.
I'm a senior fellow
Good
at the Manhattan
music.
Institute, where I'm running their initiative on critical race theory. And the reason that I reached out on Twitter to you, and I appreciate you having me on, I enjoy this kind of cross-partisan dialogue, but the reason is not just because you were attacking me on air, which I think is fine, it's politics,
Wait,
that's fair
one
game.
second. I'm sorry. I wasn't attacking you. I was
No. 1 second.
reading your quote. So that's what I did. I read your
Sure,
quote.
but you
Go
were
on.
reading it with the framing, calling me a political operative, which I'm not. I'm actually a think tank scholar. But let's put all that aside. The problem that I have is that you've really spread 4, I think, key false pieces of information about critical race theory.
Okay.
You've claimed in recent weeks that critical race theory isn't being taught in schools. You've claimed that most American public school students learn what you call Confederate race theory and are taught that slavery was, quote, not so bad. You've claimed that state legislation will prevent...
Are they really teaching that? That's crazy.
No, I don't think so. That's
Where,
insane.
where are they teaching that? That wasn't the education that I got. Oh yes, they were happy to be.
Slavery was
slaves.
good. It was awesome. What are you talking about?
Like what? What?
Like,
pull the
when-
textbook out that has
when?
that. That's not
When?
from like 1800.
Slavery wasn't so bad, guys. I mean, you provided food and clothing to poor African people who were just living their own lives in another continent,
Is Joy Reid really promoting though that they're teaching that? Like, what school district is teaching that?
Yeah.
That's
The
ridiculous.
Joy Reid.
Pull it out. I want to see this.
That's the lie that they always have to peddle when you read these articles, is that they say, oh, all these kids in all these American high schools across the country are learning that slavery wasn't so bad, if they're even learning about slavery at all. And then they say, that's why we need critical race theory. Critical race theory teaches you that slavery was bad. You're like, okay.
The same thing we've learned for the last 60 years.
I know, it's insane. It's the most insane nonsense you can
If you don't believe slavery is bad, you're a racist. Well, good. Everyone believes slavery is bad, okay?
Oh my
schools
God.
from teaching
It's-
about the history.
I've been called out, Adam. I've been called out.
What's going on? How are you being called out?
A real ostrich for $20. said, you said you'd challenge any ostrich to a debate. Well, here I am, Sitch. Are you scared? Debate me.
Uh-oh.
Look. You contact Adam, okay? Adam's my publisher. He's my booker. Okay, you call Adam. You talk to him on Twitter, and then you.
Send me a DM. Sitch is kind of a coward though, so he probably would.
What? What? You're my booker, Adam. You're not supposed to say that. You're supposed to cover for me.
Oh,
You'll say I'm
sorry.
getting my appendix.
Wait a
at me
second.
that day that my gerbil got flushed down the toilet. You're supposed to give an excuse, okay?
Oh yeah, I forgot. Here, DM me. I'll DM you a good excuse. I promise.
Oh my God.
History of racism. And finally, you've claimed that critical race theory isn't rooted in the philosophical tradition of Marxism. And I think that all 4 of those claims are wrong, and I'd love to discuss them tonight.
Okay, let's go through some of this. All right, so the first.
Joy's like, nah, we're not going to talk about your claims. Here, let's move on to the hit piece part of the show.
Pretty much.
Great clip of when
She works
Joy
for-
interviews Kimberly Crenshaw.
MSNBC?
Really?
It shows,
NBC?
Yes, and it shows that Joy is a useful idiot. Okay, this really just shows that she has no clue
Well,
whatsoever.
I don't know.
And all of her
If
confidence
useful is quite the right word.
in this area. The first question she asked Kimberly Crenshaw is critical race theory Marxist? Okay, and she asked it with a tone of voice as thinking this would be an easy layup question. Okay?
Right. Oh my
Like,
God.
she thought Kimberly
Oh
Crenshaw's
my
people were like,
God.
of course not. Like, that's hilariously ridiculous. Okay?
Right. That's what she's expecting to
Right.
hear.
And what Kimberly Crenshaw does is she gives a 2-minute answer where she doesn't answer the question whatsoever.
God.
She just goes
Oh
off.
my
She's
God.
like, Joey, what you have to understand is that critical race theory is about analyzing a series of laws. Blah 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 blah. She never says no. It's not Marxist. Okay.
Wow.
And it really shows what a useful idiot Joy is. That she thought that was an easy layup question, when it's not.
Wow.
What it's not at all.
Wow.
And what's really despicable about this is that, first of all, A, Joy doesn't ask a follow-up question after we
Right.
didn't answer the question. And then B, that conversation she had with Kimberly Crenshaw was before this conversation that she had with Chris Rufo.
Jesus.
So if I'm a journalist and I have a brain, a functioning brain in my skull, and I ask someone an easy layup question and they don't answer it, that's going to make me think, uh-oh.
What are they hiding?
Right,
What's the
exactly.
truth here? What's going on?
Exactly. Maybe I should look into this.
Well, if it was anyone in the Trump administration, she would think, oh, I should probably look into this.
I
right?
know. Of
But
course,
since
of
it's
course.
someone on her team, oh, yeah, you know. She said, I heard that it's not Marxist. That's what I heard. That's the answer I actually heard.
I know.
That's what she's saying to herself, so.
Oh my God, Adam. I'm being called out again.
Again?
A flock of geese for
Oh,
$20.
no. Oh, my God. Everyone
Said,
wants to
heard
debate
you were talking shit about us, Sitch. Name the place and the time. Let's go. Look, I'll take you geese and you ostrich on at the same time. That's right. I will box the geese while I'm debating the ostrich on the topic of the ostrich choosing. Anytime, anywhere, any place. Just DM Adam. He'll set the whole thing up.
For those of you who don't know what's going on, I think we may have got a little loopy towards the end of our last stream, and we were going after all the birds. We were basically saying we could kick the ass of any bird that came asking.
Look, we didn't start this, okay? First of all, this is CT's fault. She
Yes.
asked if we could defeat a flock of geese. And we
Yes.
said, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, no, actually, look. I said, of course. Adam was being a pussy. He's like,
Bullshit.
well, if I had a weed whacker, maybe. I need some sort of like, weapon.
I was down with the geese. It's the ostrich that I thought, Sitch, you're getting out of control here. Ostriches are like 700 pounds. What are you talking about?
Man, that ostrich can't do crap. What's it gonna do? What's it gonna do?
Yeah.
It's gonna run at me? I'll just trip it. I just go, waka! I trip its little legs. It falls over, breaks its gangly neck.
We'll see.
First thing, we're going
Yeah,
to talk about the
yeah.
politics because I'm going to challenge you a bit on whether or not you're political operative. I read this is your talking points memo that you've put out that definitely seems to be working because you've seen people like Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio use a lot of the verbiage that you suggest and a lot of the framing that you suggest that they should use in talking about.
This argument bugs the shit out of me because it's like, yes, he articulated a good argument and other people are using it. What the fuck? Address the argument. What is your, like, this whole guilt by association?
sleep,
right?
go
Because
sleep,
Ted
go to
Cruz
sleep.
articulated The argument that you made
Cool.
immediately debunks the argument. It's
No,
like,
wait.
I don't like Ted Cruz either, but let's talk about the fucking argument.
You know how there's like those little plays for children, and when the bad guy comes out, everyone goes boo.
Yeah, totally.
And when the hero comes out, everyone goes yay. Okay, that's what's happening. She's like, Ted Cruz.
Totally.
Boo.
Totally.
He used your talking point. Boo.
Totally. Yeah. Poisoning the well, I believe, is what they call this.
Yeah, exactly.
Critical race theory. I also watched your video, very highly produced, like well-produced video, in which you make a lot of claims, some of which I just want to go through very quickly. First of all,
Oh, and just to be clear here, he goes on her show, and he says, I have 4 problems with things you said, and he lists the 4 things, okay? And she says, oh, that's fantastic. I'm not going to talk about any of that stuff. I'm going to squabble over whether you're a political operative and talk about completely different things.
Yes. Yeah. It's bogus bullshit. He stepped up in the first few minutes and labeled the claims that all the conservatives, all the other side of the argument, are worried about.
Right. So she starts a debate by talking about Twitter drama.
Yep.
And he starts it by saying, here are my foundational problems with what you said. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Boom.
Here's why you're a liar and a coward. Let's not talk about why I'm a liar and a coward. Let's talk about why you're a political operative. No one should believe anything that you say, even if you're right.
I've got a couple factual. When do you say that critical race theory was created?
So critical theory was created in the
Well, critical race
1960s,
theory
and
is
critical
something
race theory
Yeah, critical
was
theory
based in the
is
late
different.
80s, the late 1980s and early 1990s.
That's actually not.
So, okay, so she does this pathetic gotcha. So pathetic. What year did you say critical race theory was started? And then he just says, well, critical theory. She's like, oh, critical theory is completely different. She won't even let him get like a sentence out.
Oh, I know. She's so triggered.
Actually not true. So I went on Harvard University, which is where critical race theory.
I went on the Wikipedia page. My name's Vosh.
Yeah, but
She is.
Vosh
I love
is.
the fact that you're
I
like
have
an
to give him credit. He
encyclopedia.
is a little more intelligent,
What
and
the fuck? All I've
since
been
his
studying is MMT.
days of
Nobody
arguing
even
with
wants me
Sargon
to
of
talk
God,
about it.
See, that's the
Vosh
problem.
has
You have to actually
gotten
study things people
more
I
nuanced.
know. I know.
Thankfully.
God, ask me an MMT question. I'm dying to say, I'm smart too.
Adam, we're going through inflation right now because of Biden's economic policies.
No. How can you stomach? I read like 1 or 2
Here we
articles
go.
of this stuff, and I'm just like, oh my god, these are racist pieces of shit. I just can't get past it. And the fact that they don't even realize how racist it is triggers the bejesus out of me. It's
Well-
like, oh my god, just change a couple words here and rethink your argument.
Right. I think the actual CRT scholars are very aware of how racist it is. I don't think the useful idiots like Joy and all these other quote unquote liberals who are espousing this nonsense, they don't really understand what's happening.
They don't know how racist they're being.
Yeah.
They're so in the ideological bubble. It's scary because it's odd because it's kind of the exact same argument that they're making on the opposite side when they're saying, white people are just obliviously racist as you're being just obliviously fucking racist. It's like,
Right.
like what the fuck?
Well, it's really annoying because I've talked
How?
to normies, friends and family members who they just read or watch the news, and they'll just regurgitate these fucking talking points because so much of politics is like, oh, if the Republicans are saying X, then I'm on the left and it's bad, or the other way around.
Yes.
And it's all just like everything's Trump derangement syndrome now. Oh, one side said something, well, I gotta be against it.
Yeah, it's sad.
Critical race
60s
theory
and
is
critical
different.
race theory
Yeah,
was
critical
based
theory
in the
is
late
different.
80s, the late 1980s and early 1990s.
That's actually not true. So I went on Harvard University, which is where critical race theory was born, at Harvard Law School. It actually happened in 1981. Professor Derek Bell and some of his students, including Kimberly Crenshaw. So we've confirmed that. So that's actually not true. Let me go through one other.
Didn't he say 1980s?
He said late 1980s, early 1990s.
Oh. Well,
So-
she said 1981.
Right. So this is okay. So she's completely fucking wrong. So I looked into this. The only thing I could find that she was referencing was that in 1981 there was some controversy at Harvard where they wanted to have some specific kind of like, this is before critical race theory had a name, proto-critical race theory class or something that Derek Bell wanted to teach, and instead they had like a little they wanted to have a seminar. They didn't want to have like a whole class. They wanted to have like a 2-3 day seminar about looking at the law differently. And so a bunch of Derek Bell's students protested. And some people will say like this was like the ideological beginning of critical race theory. However, the actual name critical race theory and the movement sort of coalescing around that name did first start in 1989 when it was the very first critical race theory conference where Derek Bell, Kimberly Crenshaw, Mary Matsuda, Gene Delgado, and all those people kind of got together for the first time, hashed everything out.
Right.
So this is like the dumbest quabble gotcha attempt of that. Like, well, when was the actual thing started? What's the date? It's so pathetically lame.
And off topic,
And off topic. Well, but here's the problem that I'm because whenever I watch these, I wonder.
I'm just going
like,
back
how
over
would
the
I
same
handle the situation. And the thing is, should I?
Jeez. Okay, well.
Is it worth the fight such an
Should I let it
claim
continue?
and waste your limited time on air?
Honestly,
no.
I don't know because
No.
maybe it is because
Should I
people
go?
see that. Like in a lot of these conversations, a lot of these debates, I don't think people are really fixating on the facts. They're fixating on like
Who knows?
who
I
scores
don't
like
have
a
to bring
rhetorical
teleport?
victory.
What? No
So,
way.
On one hand, I think if I was Chris, my initial instinct would be to just ignore this because it's stupid, but I think that's wrong. I think it would be better to say, actually, Joy, you're completely incorrect, and let me explain why, just so that it shows that she doesn't know what she's talking about. And that's almost more important than saying anything actually useful.
Yeah. As soon as he says the word incorrect, Joy is going to interrupt. No.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty
Sorry,
much true.
Joy, but you are incorrect. What? On my show?
That can't be! I'm not incorrect!
No, that's not going to fly.
Gentleman Damon for $20. Thank you, gentlemen. Says, this is for putting my 3-month-old to sleep so I can get done some chores around the house.
Oh my goodness.
A-team is coffee and cream, and S-class tastes like ass. I'm gonna say it tastes like good ass, like delicious hot ass. Thank you.
Ugh, hot ass.
Get Adam some water. Adam, drink some water.
I know.
I need you to.
I'm going crazy here, but
I need you to handle the ostriches and geese for me, okay? In the DM.
I know why I'm coughing like crazy. Because Saturday, on the coffee day, and someone made me smoke a pound of weed.
I didn't make you smoke. Who's someone? It wasn't me.
It was me.
You made yourself.
That was the someone.
Okay, gotcha.
God, I gotta stock up on some fuel this week.
I know.
Okay, you're just a
I'll give you
piglin.
some free
Piglins
ones.
are fine. It's the hoglins that I need to go,
A lot of
motherfucker!
allegations, my friend, a lot of allegations. You talk about, particularly in your video, that people...
Look at Chris is focusing on smiling right now. For those of you who are just listening, he's like, okay, gotta have the smile on my face.
Right.
He's
A lot of-
totally forcing a smile.
They both, throughout this, had the forced smile optics going on the entire conversation.
These professors, these professorial... One other thing. Because you make a lot of allegations, my friend, a lot of allegations. You talk about, particularly in your video, that people, these professors, these professorial types who you even acknowledge are academics, that they are looking to do such things as replace equality with equity, which is a conservative charge that, since I was in high school, they've been saying that.
See, all her retorts just bug the shit out of me.
Yeah,
They
it's
just
the
bug the shit
conservative
out of
shit.
me. It's like, so the argument has lasted for 20 or 30 years, therefore it's debunked because it died of old age? Like, what the fuck is that? What's going on?
Whoa!
That's how
There's
arguments
the
work,
fucking
Adam.
hoglin.
Arguments
Normally
only
when-
have like a 20-year
Little
shelf
mother-
life, and
No,
then they
fucker.
expire.
Sitch, sorry, but arguments that are persistent in the culture tend to be true.
Adam, the equality debate had expired in 2010. Okay, I didn't know if
I'm
you knew
sorry,
this.
I'm sorry.
It's
I
all
didn't
moldy
know.
now.
None of her responses address any kind of actual argument. They're all
I
like,
know.
"Oh, you're not a professor of critical race theory, so we can just ignore you." Or you know, this argument's been around for 20 years, so obviously it can't be true.
Well,
Please.
I think that's a really good observation that you pointed out, that she doesn't address the arguments, because even though I think she looks worse in this debate because
there's
she
a
gets
bunny
so
rabbit
triggered,
in here.
she does a good job and never actually addressing any points whatsoever.
No, she can't. She doesn't
Right.
know the answers to these points.
Right.
She's like, wait a second, I made all these claims. I don't even remember that shit. It's
And
like,
I think that's where Rufo did a bad job here, is that he really should have. I don't know. I when you have these like 10-minute, 15-minute TV segments, you can't talk about a lot of stuff. And so maybe the best thing to do, especially if you're talking to some newscaster who you know doesn't know shit, is you grab one point that you know that they don't have the information on, just to show that they're dumb, and you just
Yeah.
hone in on that and just hammer that in.
that's a good point. Yeah. Stick to one of the claims and continue to go back to
Yeah,
it. Like he
and don't
made
let
4
her
points.
distract you.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe because I was also saying maybe he should have gone after the Windows created debate. So I think you can do both. I think you can do both.
When did Rufo come onto your radar? Because the first time I saw him was like the Mark Lamont Hill clip. That's the first I heard of him,
yeah.
but now he's like everywhere.
Well, I think that's when I first saw him. I saw James Lindsay has been retweeting him,
Let's
for
head
a
up.
while. So
That makes sense.
To ending individual property rights, and even to committing reverse genocide or calling for reversed genocide. I know you're a filmmaker by
No.
trade. You're a documentary filmmaker. Yeah, you use the term reverse genocide in your.
No, that's
Watch
actually-
the clip.
that- no,
I did.
that's
hold on a
factually
second.
incorrect.
What you did, and so, and you know, I'm not. We can't play it.
No.
Your video, but
You are. You're exactly what I'm telling
whole
you. You
point
are.
of this stuff, and
So
I've
just
noticed
deal with it, okay?
Bunch of
I'm
people on
saying that
Twitter
you are a
pointing to this
racist.
thing
You
where
need to
he
just accept
said
it
the
and move
reverse
on. Do you
genocide
understand?
thing, and they're conflating
You are a
his
racist.
argument with the white
Let's move on.
genocide thing.
right.
That the
But that's what I
neo-Nazi
hear from her.
racists are always worried about.
It's
a total
dumb.
smear campaign.
Which is, as you're about to find out, he didn't even use that word, and he wasn't even saying. Well, you'll say.
Yeah, he's quoting someone else.
He's
Yeah.
quoting a CRT person.
Yep.
This is a
Evidence.
term.
What
The
is
term
your
is actually
evidence? What is your-
counter-genocide.
One
And
moment.
it comes from-
Counter-genocide.
it comes-
And what is your
And it
evidence
comes from
of
a
that?
book called Rethinking Ethnic Studies, which is rooted in the critical race theory tradition. It's not my term that I'm loading onto it. I'm simply quoting a book that is cited in California's model ethnic studies curriculum. I think that's horrible. You think that's horrible. We can agree about that. But you can't misrepresent where it comes from, who's promoting it.
And model.
Well, that's incorrect because she can misrepresent it like
Yeah, she
crazy.
can.
They're all gonna misrepresent it like crazy. All I see them on Twitter doing is misrepresenting this
Right.
quote. Like they're basically trying to say, "Oh, this is the new Richard Spencer guy here. This is the guy who's worried about white genocide." Look, he quoted a CRT scholar that said they didn't even say white genocide; they said counter genocide.
Counter genocide, right? And you see, she has the same aggressive stupidity as Vosh and all those other people have.
Definitely,
Where she's just like,
yes.
you said reverse genocide. No, you said it. You said it. You said it. And then the second he's like, no. First of all, I said counter genocide. She's like, oh yeah. But whatever, same thing.
Yeah, totally. So you don't. So now my prediction that Bosch is going to be an MSNBC host has more validity now that you're starting to see the wisdom of this prediction, right?
I thought I made that prediction.
No, I made that prediction. What are you talking about?
Well, I'm gonna say that I made that prediction, Adam. You're wrong.
Bosch
You made the
will one
reverse
day.
prediction.
One day we will see Bosch. I mean, Candace Owens
right.
did it. Why can't Bosch do
That's
it?
true. That's true.
Purplicious
All
cowhead.
mainstream media is looking for is someone who's going
Rock
to turn
candy?
their brain off and their mouth on. That's basically what that's the whole
Candy
job.
cane.
Ethnic studies is not critical race theory. Now, let me go through one other thing. You say that Ibram Kendi, Dr. Ibram Kendi, who's a
I would ask her, because she doesn't know. I'd say, well, Joy, what's the difference between critical ethnic studies and critical race theory?
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Something
And
just
I think-
pissed
I think
off the pigs.
This is where I think Rufo messed up the most in this conversation, is that he
Oh,
really
it was my rock
should have
dude.
just started
Okay,
asking her for
I'm cool with that.
give me specific examples of what you're talking about, because she doesn't know any of this stuff.
Yeah, totally.
How's that not?
She would have just moved on. She would have said, "No, this is my show. I'm asking the questions here."
Well, that's fine. It becomes very obvious that she doesn't have an answer.
True. Yeah, it
that's
does
okay.
point it out.
College professor. You call him the guru of critical race theory. So we reached out to him. I've interviewed him before. So we reached out to him because you say he's the guru of critical race theory. You name him a lot in a lot of your, both in your manifesto or your talking points memo, but also in your video. We reached out to him. We asked him. We asked him if he's a critical race theorist. He said, "I admire critical race theory, but I don't identify as a critical race theorist. I'm not a legal scholar, so I wasn't trained on critical race theory. I'm a historian." And Chris would know this if he actually read my work or understood that critical race theory is taught in law schools. I didn't attend law school.
So I love this answer because he says, first of all, he says I admire it, but I don't identify it. And the only reason he gives for why he doesn't identify, that Kendi gives for not identifying as a critical race theorist, is because he's not a legal scholar.
Because he didn't go to law school.
He didn't go to law school. He doesn't say that he doesn't have some problem with the philosophy. There's no part of it he disagrees with. Just, well, I'm not a lawyer. So,
Yeah. Such a
I'm not a lawyer, so I can't
know,
actually be
and
you
someone
one. Sorry.
on Twitter showed a tweet, or not a tweet, a quote he had where he basically said that all conversations, all social justice, critical theorist conversations about race are all rooted in critical race theory. Currently.
Yeah.
So it's a total non-answer. It's total nonsense. Whatsoever.
Yeah, it's bullshit. They're like, we manufactured a quote right here from Ibram X. Kendi. Look, today he's not identifying as a critical race scholar, but notice the term identify.
Right.
He's like, I'm politically fluid here. I might be a critical race theorist tomorrow. Who knows? Well, ask me then.
I wish that Rufo had seen Joy's Kimberly Crenshaw interview before he went on her show.
You don't think he did? Maybe he did.
Well, if he did, then he made a mistake. He should have brought up the whole "she didn't answer the question on Marxist" thing.
Oh, really?
Because that would be the one thing I would just really hammer in on and say, well, wait a minute. You asked her this question and she didn't answer. Why do you think she didn't answer that? And because this whole thing, and here's what I would ask Joy. I'd say, you're saying that I'm lying about critical race theory. What critical race theory books and literature have you actually read that gives you that impression that I'm lying? Because she hasn't read anything whatsoever. She's just heard shit from all these people she's interviewed. And then if she says, well, I've interviewed the actual critical race theorists themselves, and you say, okay, Joy, wait a minute. I'm accusing these people of being dishonest, and the way you went to see to validate or discredit my claims is to ask them if they're being dishonest. This is,
not a good strategy.
This is the crack shot journalism that you're engaged in here on MSNBC, Joy.
Yeah, that would have been a great response. I honestly don't know. Like, you and I are both anti-communist, anti-socialist, anti-Marxist, but I generally don't know if the anti-Marxist tact with critical race theory, the strategy, is a good strategy, simply because there are so many people who are in favor of Marxism, and they're just going to be like, so what if it's Marxist? Who cares? What's wrong with that? Now I like it even more.
There's a lot of young people there was some poll that came out, some Axiom poll that was like 50% of 18 to 34-year-olds have favorable views of socialism and negative views of capitalism or something.
Yeah.
But that's the 18 to 34-year-olds.
Wait,
They're not watching.
There was another
They're not the ones
pet.
making policy. They're not the ones influencing stuff. That's the old boomers. Okay, and they all hate Marxism.
Another portal pet.
I think Rufo's main problem in this conversation is that he sort of
approached
this conversation the way he approached like going on Fox or any more favorable show where he's like, I have kind of a list of talking points and I want to get these out there. And I don't think you can approach this situation that way. I think when you're talking to different audiences, you need to focus on different things. And for me,
Blaze Rod to make.
If you're talking to an audience that's on the left, okay, and you're trying to convince them or show them the critical race theory is bad, just focus on the fact that it's
no, it's not Blaze Pet that I'm
anti-liberal.
wanting.
Because first of all,
Gas
most of the
Pet.
audience is going to think when you say it's anti-liberal, they're going to think that you mean liberal like liberal left, not liberalism. and you just hammer on that one.
That's a
because
good
Joy's
point.
going to say, no, it's not.
Purple
and then
dye,
you're going to
ender
pull up a
pearls,
bunch of
and
quotes saying,
emeralds.
yes, it is.
Ooh.
Here's your Kimberly Crenshaw speaking out against liberalism. Here's Derek Bell speaking out against liberalism. You have no clue what you're talking about.
Stone
Why are you
makes that
supporting this?
than
Aren't you
iron.
liberal, Joy?
My
Okay,
argument
That's going to be so much fun.
in
now,
general would be a lot of people,
ring of
when you
repair.
say
How do I make
critical
that?
race theory is
That's
anti-liberalism,
anvil,
like that,
iron, diamond,
people will
diamond,
struggle
emerald.
to really
Okay.
No,
understand
no,
what
no. I
you're
wouldn't say
saying.
it's anti-liberalism. I'd say it's anti-liberal.
Right, yeah. See, an easy conflation difference there. My general response to that would be, it's too heady to really understand what
Green
exactly
teleport,
we're
that's
arguing
right.
about. But I do
So,
think
2
you're right
pearls.
on the money with an MSNBC audience. Like, they're Pavlovianly predisposed to love anything with the title liberalism.
Right.
So if you say, oh, it's anti our entire brand, then obviously you're going to have a better conversation with them. If you go into MSNBC and say, well, it's Marxist, they're going to, not really care
Right.
whatsoever.
Exactly. Because
That's going to play on Fox News. They're going to be like,
Right.
what? Marxism? Oh, shit.
Right.
And
Because when you say it's
don't have a
anti, when you go on
sponge here
MSNBC and you say,
somewhere?
well, I don't know why you're in favor of this. It's anti-liberal. That's going
Yes.
to completely
Huh.
throw them off their game.
Yes.
They're not going to know how to respond.
What?
To that,
We're the
except-
liberal network.
Right. Exactly.
We're totally going against our brand here, guys. Yeah. That would have been better. Is Chris in a position to do that, though? I don't know how political he is, so.
We don't have to be political. Everyone,
Yes,
everyone, or not everyone. Well, most people in America are in favor of liberalism.
Well,
Being a
not
Democrat or Republican,
conservatives.
is it being part of the liberals?
You can't have that conversation with a lot of people on the right because they're going to make that same conflation. They're going to be
Right.
like, the left destroys everything. What are you talking about? The
Right,
problem with critical race theory is it is liberalism.
But that's what I'm saying. You have to structure your arguments for your audience. So when he goes on Fox News, he can go and say critical race theory is Marxist, and when he goes on MSNBC, he says, well, critical race theory is anti-liberal.
Well, aren't you going to be accused, though, of talking out of both sides of your mouth? Isn't
No,
it
because
better
then
to
when
have an
someone-
argument that works with everyone?
Because then when someone calls you out, you say, being Marxist is anti-liberal, dum-dum, and then you explain it.
You could do that, but I want to dumb it down. I'm always wanting to dumb this down to like a meme, because that's the way you win.
Well, your favorite irrational artist dumbed critical race theory down to a meme.
Oh no!
Scott Adams, let's see if you like this. Scott Adams said, critical race theory teaches your children that they're either a loser or an asshole.
Well, that's just incomprehensible. Fucking hashtag artist.
So you don't like that?
What does that even mean?
Because it teaches if you're a minority, you're a loser. And if you're white, you're an asshole.
Well, I get that context.
Right.
That's my beef with it, is that it forwards negative stereotypes. Like, that's
Right,
the
but
whole point of it, is
Do you
to
think
forward
that's a
negative
good
stereotypes.
dumbing down framing of it? Or do you think that's too...
Okay, so I need another ring
No,
of
it's
repair,
Okay.
It works.
which was
The
This one?
problem with this discussion here is they're not
which means
really
I need to
talking
make an
about.
anvil.
I mean, Joy Reid kind of
I need gold
sidestepped the whole
bricks,
question
so I
of
don't
why
have any
people
gold
want it
bricks.
out of
Shit.
school. The left is
Bring it
framing
points.
this as
Again,
right wingers
gold.
don't want this in school because they're all fucking
One time I
racist,
need
and They
gold.
don't want us to teach about America's racist history. That's the way they're framing it. And
Right. Which is a total lie.
it's a lie. Yeah, exactly.
Now,
And the
gas
right-
cat,
Maybe... Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
blaze
Maybe
powder.
that's another avenue that if you're going to MSNBC to talk about, say it's anti-liberal, and you can talk about slavery and systemic racism and all these things, this has nothing to do with critical race theory. You can have all these conversations without critical race theory.
Yeah. Yeah, the right is framing it as it's forwarding negative stereotypes of white people. Which I just agree with the right's argument. It is forwarding negative
Right.
stereotypes. I don't understand. Like, if you want to tell, like, I'm sure you could have a conversation with Ibram X. Kendi about the negative stereotypes of black people, and he'd have no problem citing lots of ways that people forward those negative stereotypes that are destructive to society. But as soon as you start talking about, well, that's what's happening here with critical race here. It's like, no, we're just talking
Double
about the
XP, how
facts.
do you-
This is just the historical facts here.
More
you're
gold.
kind of putting a lot of spin on it, the way you're framing those facts. No, Adam, you're just
Okay.
Right.
You
of
don't
course.
understand. This is just
I agree, but
objective history.
I agree completely, but the problem is if you say to a left audience,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, something is forwarding anti-white stereotypes," they're just not going to believe you.
They're not
they just
gonna
don't believe you.
Totally. They're not going to believe you, and they're going to go further than that. They're going to say, you're a racist. What are you talking
Right.
about this kind of stuff?
Yeah, because I mean that's like Joy saying, "Oh, I've heard about the equity equality thing since high school." Like that's been a repeated argument that we've heard for the last 30 years, and so that's what I'm saying.
nice.
I've noticed that a lot of times in these conversations, people they have like one or two, they have like a specific argument, and they just repeat it wherever they are. They don't tailor their arguments to the people they're talking to,
Pep?
and I think
Right.
that's always a big mistake.
You
that's
have
so
to be
cool.
conscious of the fact that you're going to be accused of talking out of both sides of your mouth, and you have a great response for that. Obviously, Marxism is anti-liberalism.
Well, you
so-
don't want to. I'm not saying you should lie.
Well, I'm not
Obviously,
saying you
shouldn't
should
lie. Right.
I'm not saying you should lie either, but this is the exact same thing as perhaps it was a strategic
Wait,
mistake
what?
on Christopher Rufo's part to even mention the genocide comment, because that's so.
Well,
it's
she
so
brought it up.
painfully-
He had to respond to it.
No, I understand that, but to mention it in the first place, like whatever context he mentioned it in, was probably a mistake.
Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I agree with that, because if he says, "Oh, here's some school district in California or wherever, and they're teaching something called counter-genocide," like that's a good argument why this is bad. I mean, what does that mean? You're teaching counter-genocide. It sounds awful. And you can't really anticipate that people will just completely lie and say, "Well, you're saying that that there's a counter-genocide happening."
We're talking about Joy Reid here.
I understand that, but you can't-
Anticipation of lying is kind of like, that's like the surface level thing.
No, I understand, but I'm saying, like, if he was just talking to Joy Reid, I would agree with you. But he wasn't.
Right.
He was creating a piece for a wide
Oh, but I
audience.
need that
to
ring of
consume.
teleport. So
It's so weird. It's so weird because so much of what we say and do is being recorded and can be picked out of context. I mean, that's basically what Joy Reid does in this entire thing.
oh, sorry, ring
Like,
of blink.
it's so much in one context he says this, and then in another context
So I need to get my
they play it
hands
back
on
to
some
back to make it look like he's
gold.
contradicting himself. But
And that's the
I'm
problem, is
trying
that
to
this
think
whole,
here. Where am
especially
I?
on TV where you have limited time.
yeah, hit
Like,
piece.
like a lot of internet debates, we've talked about this a lot. A lot of internet debates are all rhetorical victories, who comes off looking the best. And that's even worse on TV because there's such limited time that you can't really usually get useful
I
information.
think I am.
Yeah.
Then.
So.
School, which is where critical theory is taught. It's really the only place it's taught. NBC has looked into everywhere, and it's not taught in elementary school. But hold on a second. This is the second thing he said, which is strange to.
Hold on a second. God, I love you just laughing your head off in the background.
It's like,
there.
if you look, we're 5 minutes and 30 seconds into the conversation, okay? And like, I don't know, 60-70% of it is Joy talking.
It's a lecture.
Okay? It's a lecture, yeah. I invited you on to lecture you. It's like,
Yes.
okay, this is great. This is wonderful.
Just sit there and watch me lecture you.
Mm-hmm.
Here, let me MSNBC host explain you.
To me, that you.
Let me respond.
I have a
This
question.
is not a
Hold on.
monologue. This should be a dialogue, right? Am I right?
It's my show, so it's how I.
It's my
That's
show,
always-
so if I
that's how
tell
you
you
know
to shut the
you've
fuck up,
lost.
you shut the
Whenever you have
fuck
to fall
up and
back
just
on the,
let
"Well,
me
it's
call you a
my
racist.
show."
That's how this works.
That's like
This is
when,
my
like,
show.
a child's arguing with
Like,
a parent.
wow.
And the kid's like, "Why do I have to do this?" "Because I said so."
Yes.
Like, it's like, okay,
Like,
you don't have
can
an
Joy
actual
change her name?
Yeah, that's fine.
Can her
my
name
show.
become
It's my
Hate,
show.
not Joy?
If I want to lecture you
And
for an
her
hour,
last
I'll
name,
sit
we
here
can
and
just
lecture you
knock
for an
off
hour.
that
Rufo,
I.
Shut your mouth.
So instead of
Shut
Reid,
your
she can
mouth.
be Red.
Don't you know
And
how
then it makes
hierarchies
sense.
work?
She is hatred.
I want to do it. So let me read you one more quote from him, because you've made a lot of claims about critical.
Bitch, so have you.
Oh man, I'd be so triggered. I'd be so triggered right
Well,
here.
Rufo does a good job at not getting triggered like
He
would
does
get triggered.
great. Yeah.
But see, this is why, I understand the political persuasion here about why everything gets lumped in as critical race theory, because we need the label. But this is the problem of doing that, is that so much of the conversation gets bogged down in this. Kenji's not a critical race theory. D'Angelo's not a critical race theory. This isn't critical race. Like, so much of the conversation gets bogged down in this fucking nonsense.
I agree. I totally agree. You want to talk about substance? These people don't want to talk about substance.
I know.
There's very little substance here if you dig down deep enough.
Right.
race theory saying that white Americans are inherently racist, that racism is inherent to whiteness. And that is one of the core charges that you're making about, these sort of what you consider like sort of woke studies in school. This is what Ibram Kendi has said in his own words. He said, "We've been taught that racist is essential to who a person is. It's a fixed category. It's in someone's heart. That's one of the reasons why people are unwilling to or unable to admit the times in which they're being racist, because it's not just admitting I was being racist in that moment. Basically, we're tattooing racist on our forehead for the rest of our lives." Isn't that the opposite of what you're arguing?
Well, I'll say two things. First of all, it's very interesting to me that so many people are now running away from the race of the label of critical race theory. But
he's not a critical race theorist.
Hold on. I'm going to quote two critical...
Look, she's like laughing to herself.
That's a really great response that Rufo gave.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to get bogged down on this. Kendi's not a critical race theorist. I do want a critical race theorist. So he just completely sidestep the issue. That's a fantastic answer. Well, look at all these people. They're running away from the label. Perfect answer.
Totally. Claims victory.
Yes.
And all Joy Reid has is, but he never was a critical race theorist.
Right.
This still, I don't even know what that big quote from Kendi really seemed nonsensical to me. Like, did you suss any substance out of that
go back to
quote? We've been taught that. Go ahead.
We've been taught that racist is essential to who a person is. It's a fixed category. It's in someone's heart. That's one of the reasons why people are unwilling or unable to admit the times in which they're being racist. Because not just admitting, I was being racist in the moment. Basically, we're tattooing racist on our forehead for the rest of our lives.
And what's the point of bringing this quote up?
That seems... I don't know. Well, here's the thing. I don't know what the greater context of this quote would be, but this seems to say the exact opposite of what Joy is saying. Because Rufo was saying critical race theory says white people are inherently racist.
Correct, yes.
And Joy, who first of all has already made the claim that Kendi isn't a critical race theorist, so I don't know why bring up the quote that he said was relevant to what CRT says, by her own admission. But then the quote she brings up seems to argue Rufo's point.
Yes, I agree.
Kendi's saying we've been taught that racist is essential to who a person is. It's a fixed category. It's in their heart. That's why people are unwilling to admit that they're being racist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How does this disprove what Rufo is saying? I don't understand.
It doesn't. And it also, I mean, he basically endorses the idea that the term racist
It does, because
a bad state.
she's a retard.
When he said
He's an
basically
intellectual.
tattooing
There you
racist on
go.
your forehead
I just
forever
answered your question.
for the rest of our lives. That's why people are unwilling to take the label. And I
Right.
mean, is this trying to encourage people to accept that they're just racist and come out and openly say that they're racist? I mean, what is the purpose of this quote?
It could be, this quote could be with the context. He could either be saying that this is a good thing or this is a bad thing we need to do away.
Totally.
Now, Joy's too stupid to understand that you would need further context to understand whatever is being said here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it does. It's not a good quote. I don't even know why she brought it up. It's bizarre, that she thought it was.
Just admitting
It feels like there's some political motivation.
being racist in that moment. Basically, we're tattooing racist on our forehead for the rest of our lives. Isn't that the opposite of what you're arguing?
Whoa.
Yeah, that's what I don't get. How's that the opposite of what he's arguing?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But what I do know is that a real ostrich for another $20. He says, or she, ostrich, says, "You can't run from me, Sitch. Ostriches can travel up to 43 miles per hour.
True.
Debate me."
True.
I'm not gonna run from you, okay? You're gonna run at me, and then I'm gonna do a duck and roll, and I'm gonna trip you on your big gangly feet, and you're gonna fall over, and you're gonna roll over, and you're gonna break your own gangly dumb neck. 'Cause
Commando
you're a
roll.
stupid bird. That's
Yeah.
right.
Sitch knows his commando rolls. Watch out.
Right. I studied Aikido in college. I'm one of the best of them, okay? You're just a dumb bird.
Well, I'll say two things. First of all, it's very interesting to me that so many people are now running away from the race of the label of critical race theory. But
He's not a critical race theorist.
Hold on. I'm going to quote two critical race theorists. Barbara Applebaum with the book Being Good, Being White. She says, quote, "All white people are racist." Robin DiAngelo, who's another critical whiteness studies
not a
scholar,
critical
says
race
that,
theorist.
quote,
No.
All white identity is inherently racist.
No.
What you're doing is you're playing a series of word games.
No,
You know that critical
no.
whiteness studies
That's
is a
ironic.
subfield of critical race theory?
No, it's not.
These things are all deeply
No,
interrelated.
they're not. They're not.
Is what he's saying true? Critical race theory is or whiteness studies is a subcategory of critical race theory.
Well, I guess I don't know what he means by that. Like, it kind of comes down to that chart that I talked about.
Yeah, totally.
All these
The three
things,
charts.
right? They all these different white studies, anti-colonialism, whatever I don't know, whatever these fucking whatever you want to label these critical theory, the cultural Marxist. Okay, all these cultural Marxist philosophies about race, they all work from the same base assumptions. And so I don't know exactly whether critical whiteness studies, derive from critical race theory or whatever, but
Do any of them paint whiteness in a good light, like it's something
No.
you would strive to achieve?
no, they all paint whiteness in a bad light. He could cite Cheryl Harris. And he does this is weird. He did this in his video, if you remember. He cited the Whiteness as Property by Cheryl Harris paper,
Right.
which she is 100% on critical race theories, and they 100% bring up the Whiteness as Property thing. And she definitely says some crazy shit about white people
Right.
and about whiteness that you could use in as an example. But you can't really defend her and say she's not a critical race theorist. But I wonder if, and I think maybe it would have been good for Rufo to say, you're saying that critical race theory and critical whiteness studies are different. How are they different? Just really show, really put her feet to the fire, because she's making these big claims. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's like, okay, well, how do you know that, Joy? What are you referencing?
Yeah. I'm curious how Robin DiAngelo feels about her saying, no, she's not a critical race theorist. I wonder if Robin DiAngelo's at home going, what? I am a critical race theorist.
She would probably give the exact same answer that Kendi gave.
Oh, she would
Which is-
dance around it.
Yeah, she would say, well, maybe in her own mind, she's not testing it. She would just say, oh, I like critical race theory. I admire it. Maybe she'll admit that some of her ideas came from it, but she'll say, well, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a legal scholar.
Oh, okay.
Therefore, I can't be a critical race theorist.
She's like, I'm just a corporate trainer. I just train people how to not
right.
lie.
The real question, and the way you have to phrase it, if you were talking to Kendi or Rob D'Angelo, is you have to ask them, what do you disagree with critical race theory about?
Yeah, what is, there's such a Mott and Bailey going on with critical race theory that I don't even really know what Joy Reid is arguing for here.
Right. But if you ask someone like D'Angelo or Kendi what you disagree with them about critical race theory, they can't Mott and Bailey, because they can't disagree against a Mott, because then they'll look crazy.
Right, that's a good point.
So you're putting them in a position where they have to give like an actual specific answer.
Right.
I'm not going to let you play games, and this is really, I think, the most essential thing.
Hold on.
Hold on.
No.
Let me
not
respond
hold
at
on.
least once. I haven't gotten a full sentence out.
Because I'm not going to let you see. One of the things that and I don't know, you probably never watched me on TV. Just we didn't know who each other were, not so long ago. But I don't allow people to just make up and say lies on the show. It's just not.
See, totally fucking accuses him of lying.
I just don't let
I know.
people lie on
And
my
that's
show.
the exact-
I'm the only
exact
one that
same
gets to
tactic,
do that.
right?
You see?
This is the
You
exact
see?
same tactic. that
I'm the
Fox
only
uses.
one.
When I've
I'm
noticed
not
that
gonna
he's
let
in a
you lie
conversation or
on
debate,
my
he's
show,
interrupting someone a lot.
you white boy.
And call him out on interrupting. He's like, well, I can't let you just say lies. I have to address these lies. Like, that's the excuse he gives for not letting you be able to talk.
Yeah.
No, it's really gross. But that's why I said I would start calling her out on the specifics, because she doesn't have any theoretical background on any of this stuff. She hasn't read any of the papers whatsoever.
Joy Reid's whole fucking show is lies. She sits around lying herself. They need a fact checker on her. What the fuck?
Right. But you know who you don't
Really
need a
right.
fact checker on?
What? Who's that?
A flock of geese!
Oh
for
my god.
$10, Adam.
Coming back at you
The
still?
flock of geese says, I got a little out of hand earlier. Us avian folks are just a little riled up. I think you need to study up on critical bird theory.
Uh-oh.
Just search CBT on Google. It should be easy to find from there.
I love birds. I'm an avid bird watcher, so
Oh, okay.
don't go too crazy with the birds.
That's right. That's right.
I hear you don't like hummingbirds, which I think is a crime
What?
against humanity.
What do you mean?
Didn't you say hummingbirds were overrated?
I said they're stupid. They're bad animals.
Hummingbirds?
if you had to choose to be a bird, no one in their right mind would choose to be a hummingbird. That'd be like the worst bird to choose.
Yeah, they're so fragile. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's terrible.
They're these tiny, fragile
You have to
birds
go into
that
a coma every night when you sleep.
Yeah, exactly. They don't go to sleep. They go into comas because they require so much energy that they have to basically be drinking nectar like 24/7 or they die.
Yeah.
There's actually, and they're so small that like hummingbirds can get bullied away from flowers by bees.
What?
A single bee can threaten a freaking hummingbird. Like, it's like, give me a break.
They're marginalized, okay? Hummingbirds are the marginalized
Look,
bird.
Hummingbirds are very pretty. If you ever see them in your backyard, you're like, oh, it's cool, it's a hummingbird, it's exciting. But you don't want to be a hummingbird.
It is exciting. Well, I wasn't contemplating being one. I just enjoy them.
To do that and let people hear. But hold on,
Well, let
Robin
me at least get
DiAngelo.
a full
Wait.
sentence in. Am I right or
Robin
wrong?
DiAngelo is not a critical race theorist, and I want everyone to know that. I don't know who the other woman is, but she's not. But let's just go.
I don't know who she is, but she's not a critical race theorist. Brilliant! My dear Watson, brilliant deduction on your part.
That was my favorite line. I don't know who this other person is, but she's not a critical race theorist.
I know. It's brilliant logic. That logic is airtight.
I would have definitely called her out on that. And say, wait a minute, if you don't know who they are, how can you say they're not a critical race theorist?
Yeah.
Because I'm right, motherfucker.
I have a catalog of every single critical race theorist in my head.
Go through a minute because whiteness, and racist.
This is also why I really think you should stick to Crenshaw, Delgado, Mary Matsuda, Cheryl Harris, Derek Bell, and all these people, because you can't get into these games where they say they're not critical race theorists.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
The only issue, and the reason that people like to point to Kendi and DiAngelo is because they're like, they're the popular ones right now.
Yeah.
But also because Kendi and DiAngelo are far more explicit in what they're saying. And this is where you get into the problems with with Hunter and with Aaron when you talk about critical race theory stuff, is that when you read a lot of these academic papers, it's very rare for academics to say, oh, I think X is a piece of shit and we should all not do
There's
X
my
anymore."
gold.
They never say that. What they
I
say
knew
is,
I would find it if I
as
just
an
used the ring of the
academic,
miner.
I'm very critical of X, and I think we need to change and reform society in these reasons. Let me explain why I think X is bad, okay? That's how they frame this. And so if you come out and say, well, this person wants to do away with liberalism, they go, oh, well, no, technically, they didn't say they want to overthrow liberalism. They just are highly critical of it and spend their entire paper talking about why it sucks, but they didn't say they want to get rid of it.
It's all guilt by implication.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Whiteness and
rid of
racist.
it.
Where did the term white know that, Robin? I don't know who the other woman is, but she's not. But let's just go through a minute because whiteness, and racist. Whiteness and racist.
Sure.
Where did the term whiteness come from?
Sure, and I think this is an important point, and I hope you let me actually get a full paragraph out about this.
Go for it.
But whiteness,
I think this is bad.
Hell yeah, it's bad.
Because it's a stupid, first of all, it's a total deviation from what you want to talk about. It has nothing to do with anything. And she's like testing him, like, let me test you.
Yeah.
This is where, and again, I'm not gonna fault Rufo for this. It's very difficult to be in these situations. Obviously me and Adam are looking back on this. We've watched it several times. We have a clear head. Our elephants are
somewhat clear.
Somewhat clear heads, yes. Our elephants are somewhat, grazing on the fields, so our riders can talk amongst themselves. But yeah, if someone, if she asked Rufo that question, he should have just not answered it and just gone to one of his talking points that he wanted to talk.
whiteness is the idea that there is some kind of metaphysical category in the world, that all white people are reducible to this essence of whiteness. Then what happens is that they load all of these negative connotations. They say that whiteness is by definition that includes white.
You see that? She's like searching through her notes. She's like, I need my talking points. Where are my notes?
Look at that scowl. Look at that total scowl. I'm going to get this motherfucker. Watch this.
Well, see, and Rufo did do something that he handled this decently, which is that he didn't really answer her question.
Totally,
He,
yeah.
He brought it back to let me
Talking
talk
about
about
the
whiteness
topic.
as property,
Yeah.
and let me talk about how whiteness manifests in critical race theory.
Totally. She wants to talk about where the term originated, so she can forward the negative stereotype that white people came up with the term racist.
Right.
Yeah.
The Hills for $20. Thank you, Hills. Says co-op guy again. Oh, it's the guy from co-op. Been overworked a bit due to people taking sick or vacation days. Yes, including shipping and the guy from social media department who shot down hiring more people but offered to help down to my humble department.
Sweet.
Oh, they continue for another $15. Thank you, Hills. They continue saying, also like to clarify something from the other week. There are co-ops that work in my area, and the number of employees is small, and they have a coherent vision. My coworkers are great folks, but we lack this, and co-ops might work fine for online small businesses.
Yeah,
You know,
shared vision's the hard part.
Right. Well, and I wonder for the other co-ops that work is that if they start as co-ops, so like if you're going to start a small company that's not, you don't really expect it to grow a lot, and especially if it's online and it can all be done by like 6 or 7 people, then sure, that would make sense. That could all be a co-op, you know, especially if you all start it with that vision in mind. But with, I believe you said the other week, Hills, that the company you worked for started as a private company and became a co-op, so it's a little more difficult. Because then there is, as you said, there's no shared vision. People don't go into it with that expectation in the first place.
Cool.
White fragility includes white privilege, includes internalized white superiority. And then what they do is they try to impose these reductive racial categories onto individuals. And I actually agree with Kendi's approach. I think that we should fight race essentialism. But the problem is that critical race theory enshrines race essentialism.
But you
and
said
you see
he
it in
is
schools.
one.
And I'll give you 3 examples of critical race theory being taught in schools.
Hold on one second. Wait,
In
hold on a second.
Cupertino,
Hold on.
California.
No,
In Cupertino,
these are in your
California.
talking points, sir. Chris, these are in your talking points, and I know what you're going to say because you said it with Mark Lamont Hill. You repeat these same things. They're in this manifesto. People can read out mine. Let me just go for...
Calling it a manifesto. God, she's so bad. It's
I
like
know.
completely poisoning the well.
Well, she's like, your political operative, your talking points, your manifesto.
Yeah.
When you hear that word, you think of like shooters and serial killers.
Totally. Yeah. No, it's all poisoning the well. It's all just trying to be like, you called me a coward. How dare you? I'm going to show you. This
I'm
is
not
all
going to
just...
let you talk, even though I've talked your ear off for like 60% of this conversation with Ibram Kendi quotes and all this other bullshit.
Yeah,
You can't make any points. You're not allowed to make points. You're not allowed.
Yeah, you're the bad guy. Don't you understand? This is... This is like this is just me beating up on you.
Right.
For a second. On the subject of whiteness, are you aware, since you say that I guess you're sort of a quasi-historian in your
You catch that heavy sigh, Rufo?
Here. Yeah, I did.
Rufo's like,
She called him a quasi-historian.
yeah.
Quasi-historian.
I don't know, what's that mean?
I don't know.
thinking
You know, like the
things are in
Hunchback of
this
Notre Dame?
man-
He's like
What's
a
that?
hunchback. He's a hunchback historian.
Quasimodo?
Not quite Modo, he's like half Modo.
Okay.
Manifesto. People can read out mine. Let me just go for a second. On the subject of whiteness, are you aware, since you say that I guess you're sort of a quasi-historian in your thinking, that whiteness was actually formed in the United States? That whiteness didn't even exist as a thing. Europeans were all European. They considered themselves Italian or Polish or whatever.
The whites came up with whiteness. Don't you love it? Don't you love it?
Oh my god.
The whites are the ones that came up with whiteness.
Mm-hmm.
We're just using it to disparage whites now, but you came up with it.
Right. Well, it's funny because when she asked him her stupid test question, and he actually brought it to talking about critical race theory instead of whatever the hell she's talking about. She's talking about the origin of the term whiteness.
Yes.
And then she's like, well, I got to go back to my talking point, Chris, okay? We can only talk about my talking points.
Pretty much.
You actually see this a lot with interviewers and journalists. They're very good at doing this. Where they have some specific point they want to talk about, doesn't matter what the other person says. They're always
Yeah.
going to bring it back
Yep.
to their talking point.
They're not
That
having
is-
a conversation.
That is if they're talking to someone they don't like. If they're talking to someone they do like, they'll go wherever they want to go. They won't
But-
hold them accountable whatsoever.
this argument doesn't make a lot of sense to me, though. She's basically saying because whites came up with the term whiteness, that means that it can't possibly be used to disparage them at a later date. No. Like that. I mean, that doesn't follow.
Well, she doesn't even say that. She doesn't actually give an argument. She just says white people came up with the term whiteness hundreds of years ago.
Well, but the implication,
Okay, well,
the implication is like, no, it can't be used to disparage white people because white people came up with it themselves.
I guess.
Checkmate, obviously. Jeez.
Which is very stupid.
Yeah, it's totally not a non-argument, but
Right.
yeah.
Whatever. When the colonists came here, they actually
Whenever they start talking about the colonists, you know.
Those colonists, those colonizers, they came here.
We're going to the colonialists.
When we talk
Creative-
about whiteness, Adam, we have to refer to it in
Oh,
the
but
sense
Adam,
of
don't you remember?
400 years ago.
Colonizer
We
is
can't
a
talk
term
about
of
anything
endearment.
recent
It's what
before
Black
400 years
Panther's sister calls,
No, that's a thing.
oh, what's his name?
Why is this all? I guess it's the root of their argument is that these
Freaking
racial
Bilbo Baggins.
inequities happen.
It's
in the
endearment.
past, and they carry forward all the way till today. So
Yes.
if you see any kind of racial inequity in society right now, it's because of historical injustice. That's part of their lens. That's all they see.
Well,
so
I
Look
mean,
at all
kinda
these
forced to
fucking
talk about
chickens.
that.
it's hard. It's hard to look at today's society.
I know.
And say,
It's impossible.
black people are so systemically prejudiced against, because that's kind of like a murky area about like how you make those arguments.
Yeah.
Where it's so much easier to just say, well, 400 years ago when they were slaves, like it's just such a more clear example. So that's why they always go back to it.
Yeah. It sucks that we always are stuck talking about 400 years ago because it's boring. I want to talk about today.
the idea of whiteness. This is from the Smithsonian.
I agree with
as
that.
a way to distinguish themselves from
Look
what
at that hand. Just fucking talk to the hand, bitch. Shut up. Don't you know, Chris? This means shut up.
they call the
God,
colonists
what a
came
fucking-
here. They actually created the idea of whiteness.
C
This is
word.
from the Smithsonian.
I agree with
as
that.
a way to distinguish themselves from what they call the savages, the natives, and from black people, from Africans, who even if you had a little African in you, if you're Plessy, who's 7/8 white, if you are African in any aspect, that you are reduced of rights. So people that you don't like, that are doing this sort of wokeness training, are saying whiteness has always had power. There used to be a saying, I'm free, white, and 18. It was commonly said in the 50s and 60s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. So whiteness has power. So people who want to decouple whiteness from power, that's what you're annoyed by, right? Let me play a little bit of.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
So, well, that's crazy because she asks him a question and then says, "Let me play." Like she doesn't even let him respond. She
I know.
accused him of something, saying, "You're annoyed that people want to decouple whiteness from power."
yeah.
Okay, but this
I
actually,
don't think he is annoyed by that, though.
no, not at all.
He wants to decouple whiteness from power. Like the whole idea behind critical race theory is saying that whiteness is power. I mean,
Right,
You have to
exactly.
decouple it. What are you talking about?
Right. See, but this actually,
Cool.
and he didn't take this opportunity. This was the perfect opportunity to get a slam dunk, I think.
Yeah.
Which would be to say, I agree with everything you just said about the conceptualization of whiteness.
He
Joy.
did say that under his breath.
Right,
He was saying
right.
that the whole time.
But then to lead that into saying that's why I'm in favor, like Martin Luther King Jr., like the civil rights movement, the original civil rights movement, of abolishing the importance of race in America.
Yeah.
That we should be in favor of deconstructing. Can you use the word? I'm in favor of deconstructing whiteness, deconstructing the importance of race. The problem is the critical race theorists want to do the exact opposite of
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
They want to coalesce around race. They want to make race one of the most important factors that people use as their own identity.
Yeah.
Joy. So I agree with what you're saying. I don't understand why you're agreeing with the critical race theorists who want to uphold the whiteness that you want to dismantle.
Exactly. Yeah. She accused him of something that's the direct opposite of his position, basically.
Right. But that's because I really think she's just so stupid and so ignorant. She has no idea, no conceptualization of what critical race theory is actually
I
advocating
could agree.
whatsoever.
Yeah. If you said straight to her face, and I think he even does in the interview, that this is race essentialism by another name, they'd be like, no, this is just history. What are you talking about?
Right.
We're just teaching the
Well,
facts.
When you say it's race essentialism, you sort of get into an argument, because there are some CRT
What
essentialists and there
is-
are some that aren't.
Really?
Yeah. But most of them, I think most of them aren't race essentialists, but they take kind of a bullshit position on this, where they say, well, we're not race essentialist, but society like dictates that race is the most important thing, so you sort of have to behave like in reaction to that.
Interesting.
So they kind of
distinction.
take, they kind of take like a bullshit, want to have it both ways position
Right.
in the conversation.
Yeah. Decoupling race from any kind of stereotypes is
Right.
like the key. Which that's exactly what we've been trying to do, but now it seems like not working so well.
What you said, you did
No.
a speech. Hold on, you did a speech at the Claremont.
Hold on.
I'm not done attacking
Hold on,
you
just
yet,
accused
white
Accused you of
man.
something. Now, I'm not gonna let you respond.
Yeah. Oh God, it's such bullshit what she's doing
I
here.
know. It's terrible.
Claremont Institute, in which you talked a little.
Rufo's just laughing now. Now he's like, oh, this is insane.
Well, it's interesting because in her conversation after, Rufo's gone, I think one of her producers was like, "You looked really bad in this segment.
Oh, really?
You need to do some damage
Holy
control."
shit.
So
Oh,
you'll
man.
see.
Rufo looks like a saint at the very end when he says she's like, he labels her the preeminent scholar of Chris Rufo theory. I was like, oh my God.
It's a good line.
It's hilarious too.
It's
and
good. Yeah.
It's so hilarious. It's like, you want to insult me? Here, let me turn that insult into a compliment for you. He came out looking so squeaky clean.
Little bit about how you really feel about the academics of it. Here it is. This is cut. I think this is it 3? Yeah, go for it. Play it.
I'm a white guy fighting critical race theory.
Do you identify as white?
I mean, I'm an Italian American, so you tell me. Lumping people.
See, they totally set that up just to show him contradicting himself, like admitting in one clip to being a white guy and admitting in another clip that he doesn't want to define himself by race. That's so fucking disgusting. So
It is.
that's so dirty. That's so
we don't even-
fucking kicking in the balls right there.
It's very disgusting, and we
Yeah.
don't even know what the context was.
I know, for the white guy thing. Yeah, exactly.
'Cause
Like it's
like the
completely
tone of-
devoid of any context.
Right, because the tone of voice that he's sort of saying it
Mm-hmm.
sounds like he's saying like someone else is saying, "I'm a white guy fighting critical race theory." Like that
Totally.
sounds like kind of what he's saying.
It could
Obviously, we
be the
can't tell
setup
if
for a
it's-
joke.
I know. It's
I'm
like
a
it's
white
so
guy walking
ridiculous.
into the bar.
Right.
It's like, what?
So ridiculous.
Yeah.
people into white, black, Asian, as you suggested, is such a crude
Yo,
and
can I
broad
create a-
categorization.
There's these like
I
very
don't know if I
kind of
can.
pathetic and very angry graduate students that
Screw it, I'll
try to
take the
fight
iron
me
with
on
me.
these highly technical
Because I'm
legal
really
interpretations,
curious
and it's
now
like,
if
I don't
you
have
can.
time for this. I don't give a about this stuff.
So you don't give an S about this stuff. You're really just having a campaign to
I know.
She's such a lying piece of
I
shit.
know.
Oh my God.
It's crazy. Yeah, exactly.
And he doesn't say I don't give a shit about critical race theory. He says I don't give a shit about your Hegel interpretation.
Interpretations of critical
Right.
race theory. Yeah.
And I do think if I was Rufo, I'd say, okay, I think trying to get accurate points at this point in the conversation is not going to happen.
No. Oh my
And so-
God.
so
they
I should
edited a
just-
fucking
I should-
tape together. They're totally
Right.
going for bear here.
So I should just make Joy look as awful as possible. And he doesn't do this, but I think what I would have done, maybe I would be totally wrong in this tactic. I would have said, well, in the clip you played, I didn't say I don't give an S about critical race theory. I said I don't give an S about grad students' interpretation of Hegel, Joy. So why exactly are you lying to your entire audience by trying to clip me out of context in this conversation?
Yeah. That's
Why are
a
you being
tough
such
call.
a dishonest piece of shit.
That's a tough call. That is a tough call because from an optics point of view, I mean, he's playing the martyr so good here.
Right.
So good here. Even to the point with the compliment that completely sold me at the end. I don't know if he went... I mean, it's patently obvious to anyone with half a brain that she's being a total lying, manipulative piece of shit.
Not.
Does he have to come out and say it? I mean...
I think he does because I saw a lot of people on Twitter were like
Don't know if
using
it's an
this specific line against him, saying
I
Rufo
remember
said he didn't give a
in
shit about CRT.
Oh,
He said he didn't
okay,
give a
so
shit. They were
I'll
using
bring
this
both. I
specific
gotcha.
thing.
I gotcha.
So look, she even put it in the fucking
Actually,
I know,
if
it's
whatever it's called, the
terrible.
banner at the
Rufo
bottom.
on
That's the
academic
number,
debate. I don't give a shit.
Right. I'd be like,
Completely
Joy-
trying to undermine his position.
Right. And then if she tries to fight you on it, you say, Joy, what exactly is your thoughts on Hegel's interpretation?
Yeah, exactly.
She doesn't even know who Hegel is.
Oh my God, you're
Like-
right. She has no idea about Hegel.
Right. So I don't know. I think it would have been better for him to fight on. I mean, it's hard because when you're in these debates at the moment, you don't know what, unless you're like super like up on optics, you're not going to necessarily know
You don't
what's
know,
the thing
yeah.
that's going to become the viral meme from your conversation.
It's all instinct. It's all pure
Right.
instinct.
It's all pure instinct.
and luck. Yeah, I
And
don't
also,
know.
I don't think he can see the little banner. So he doesn't even know that there's a little banner at the bottom that says
I don't give a shit. Yeah, complete out of context clips. If he pointed out that she's lying though, I don't know if anyone is going to be swayed by that. It's an interesting dilemma.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The question is, how do you proceed from this point? Do you try to get your points across, or you just try to discredit Joy in this conversation?
Yeah.
And I think saying you just played a clip of me saying I don't care about Hegel interpretation. Why are you equating this to critical race theory? Why are you lying to your audience? I mean,
Yeah.
you can say it in a nice way.
Why are you a lying piece of shit?
Yeah, why
But
are you lying to your
nicely.
audience about what I just said? What does it have to do with?
You
could say,
can't
what does it
accuse
have to do
someone
with
of
critical
lying.
race theory? Joy?
Listen, was it nice when Joy accused Rufo of lying? I mean, she did.
She did several times.
I know.
I know. Right.
Was it in a nice way?
Well, no,
you
it
can't
wasn't.
accuse anyone of lying in a nice way.
Well,
It's
I mean,
impossible.
okay. I mean, you
Dumb
could
bitch.
say it in a cordial. You know, you don't have to
Tone?
say
In a
"fuck you," in a
cordial
cordial
tone?
tone. Yes, you don't have to say "you lying bitch." What are you doing? You know,
Oh my
that
God.
doesn't look good on TV.
To take everything that annoys white
No,
Americans
that's
and
not
white
right.
conservatives.
No,
Hold
that's
on.
not right.
You
No.
want to make a campaign
I mean,
and stuff
you-
everything
you
in
played
there
my
that
highlight
people
reel.
that
You played my
people that
highlight
get
reel. Give me a
annoyed,
chance to respond.
And you
no,
want
that's
to
absolutely
stuff
wrong.
it all into critical race theory,
This
right?
What I
so
don't think
gross.
is right is that forcing 8-year-olds.
Are you going to throw up? Do you need to take a break?
She's like, I'm going to assert your position is that you're some sort of Republican who's just annoyed about, white people losing. This is the myth. And
Oh.
I get so pissed because I have all these fucking arguments with my family members about this because this is the myth that the mainstream media has been pressing for so long.
Oh, hell,
which
they
is that-
love it.
Yes. They go, oh, well, the pushback is because white people are just so afraid of the demographic shifts and they're losing power in society, and that's why they're all voting Trump, and it's the white rage, which is, first of all, I don't think that's true.
It's
Even
not remotely
true.
true. If you look at the look at the numbers, the election
Right.
numbers, you're like, what? What are you talking about?
I don't think that's even remotely true for the majority of people that are voting. And secondly, for years, and this is like the amnesia about this is driving me crazy. For years under Obama, the mainstream media was trumpeting and masturbating celebratorily the fact that white people were a shrinking demographic. So it's like, wait a minute, you're complaining that white people are mad because of something that you've been promoting for 8 years, basically, is happening, and that they're going to lose. And not only have they been promoting it, they've been promoting it specifically, not in a racialized sense, but in a term of, that means that they're going to lose political power.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's doubly disgusting because it's saying, we on one side of the political debate can applaud that you're losing political power via racial demographic change, but you are not allowed then to defend the political change. You're not allowed to be mad about that. It's like, well, then don't bring it up in the first place. Don't make it a racialized issue if people aren't allowed to talk about it.
Yeah, it's so bad. I mean, do they even know that they're doing it? I'm not sure that they do.
I don't know. I don't.
They're
just
totally oblivious to it.
totally oblivious. These people are morons. They're totally oblivious to this stuff.
You don't have to. It doesn't take a lot of brain power to realize if you're talking about, oh, it sucks to be a marginalized person. Oh, it sucks to be in the minority. Oh, it's terrible. Marginalized people face the worst struggles in the world. And then to go on about demographic shit, it's like, okay, I kind of get what you're saying here.
Right.
Yeah.
Anonymous Coward for $25. Thank you, Anonymous Coward. Says, those pushing the abject failure of a movement that is CRT are useful idiots, especially Sam Hoadley. Well, that's who we talked to. They can't take back their narrative that was stolen by critical social justice, so they resort to attacking Lindsay and Rufo. If what's being taught isn't critical race theory, then why not start arguing semantics and join forces so that the actual CRT can be taught?
Yeah.
True. One of the things I'm kicking myself that we didn't ask Sam and Aaron was, you keep saying all this stuff isn't critical race theory. Well, what is it? What's the label that would be accurate that you think we should use to talk about this stuff?
Ask them on Twitter. They're on Twitter all the time. I'm arguing with them on Twitter all the time. So, but I want the debate to be clear. It's not going to be clear because people gain politically from it being obscure. So obviously, all the incentives are to keep it completely unclear what exactly is going on, who's arguing what the actual definition is, who's harmed, who's helped. All that is. There's no incentive to clarify anything.
No, and that's what's so annoying about all this stuff is that all these cultural Marxist fields, so much of it is just word games and hiding definitions. I've never seen anything like it. Like, I don't know if I haven't read deep wells of philosophy, beyond what
my
we read
inventory
for
full of
eyes? Videos. But all this leftist stuff is just all word games and nonsense. And I don't know if that's just specific to cultural Marxism or if that's just the way all these academics talk. But it's crazy.
How can you even really call it academics? I mean, if you're just playing word games, I don't like. That's what bugs the shit out of me.
He's still doing any work?
People
No.
Are calling this some academic process, which gives them the feeling of some sort of scientific credibility.
Right.
Like you think academia, you think, oh well, it's empiricism, science.
Right.
We're actually studying something. No, we're just sitting and fucking navel gazing in the humanities department. What are you talking about?
What's so when you read all this shit, like so much of the stuff that's being produced by these social justice fields, it's what you said, it's just navel gazing. It's a bunch of people sitting around in a fucking bar like Karl Marx, getting wasted and just saying, you know what I don't like about society? I don't like dish. Let me write my feelings down. And they don't go out there in the world and conduct experiments to find out if any of this is true. They just say, no, my thoughts. This is what my gut tells me. Okay, you're listening to the gut check of Derek Bell and Kimberly Crenshaw.
Yeah. All this whole interview here is not any kind of debate. It's a pissing contest.
Yes.
They're a fucking pissing contest. For political power. That's a total irony.
Yep,
that
that's exactly it. It's all about power.
Truth to the argument that it's really about power struggles, because it really is. All these people want power.
And that's what's funny is because you can make that argument. You say, look, critical race theory is all about, seizing power, and when they fight back.
Fine, I'll be there in 1 second.
This entire conversation has been conceptualized by you, okay, as being Democrats versus Republicans. You're the one framing it in this political power sense, so you're just proving my point.
Yeah.
I just want to say, it was funny since they brought up Sam. I asked Sam, if you remember, during the conversation, he said that his teacher, or someone that he studied under,
another one over here.
had some book that he thought I would like.
There, he's
that
still
was about
cleaning up
sort
the
of being
mess.
pro-critical race theory and pro-liberalism. So I asked him for the book, and I've read like the first. It's kind of not super long, but it's kind of dense. I've read like the first 2 or 3 chapters of it, and it's literally proves my entire point.
No, it's nonsense.
No, it's this guy. It's this professor, or whatever. begging cultural Marxists to not throw away the concept of liberalism.
Oh, really? Holy shit!
The whole, and
Holy
he's like, guys, we don't have to throw away liberalism.
Now,
we can just create
I
a
need
new
to
form.
answer my
I'm gonna call
question
it
before I
black
do
radical
anything else.
liberalism.
Oh,
And
that's
it's
a
like,
good marketing ploy.
yeah,
right there.
exactly. And I'm like,
I said I'm coming!
so I'm like, Sam, how are you debating me on this topic? This book that you're using proves my entire argument.
Yeah, liberalism
No!
is gone by a thread, and nobody wants to admit it.
It's terrible.
It's sad. It's totally sad. I don't know though. I'm such a hopeless optimist that I can't go down the James Lindsay. We're all going to hell in a handbasket. I just can't. I can't go there. Is it me, Sitch? Help me here. Are we really in dire straits? Should I be worried about this?
I don't know.
I feel like
it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell.
I feel like it's just a big joke. I really do. I'm adopting a little the comedian stance here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this is serious. I don't take Joy Reid seriously. I think all these people are just brainwashed, and most people,
Star
I think,
3x3.
moderates. I just
Then-
conceptualize moderates really as the kingmakers in these elections. So
Right. I'll
Yeah.
be worried when the people on the news are not useful idiots, but are the actual Marxists. And they're
Oh,
just
really?
intentionally lying. That's when I'm going to be really worried that we're fucked, because then it's like too late.
It does work.
interesting.
But I don't know. We're not that. I don't know.
Okay,
It's
well.
It's hard to determine, where this is going. Is it gonna
Yeah.
get worse? Is it going to get better? Is it going to stay the same?
That
We've
is
gone through
awesome.
these cycles many times in this country, where this social, cultural Marxism nonsense flares up and then it goes away, and then flares up and it goes away. I mean, it's very possible that a lot of the flare up right now is because of COVID,
You know,
is
what is it
because
with people?
of George Floyd and Black Lives Matter, and it's very possible that everyone's predictions about how this is going to go politically is going to just dissipate because people aren't going to give a shit in a couple of months from now.
Yeah,
And everyone's
once-
trying to spend money and buy things and
Totally.
Okay.
Good old capitalism
This
kicks back in
and
again.
toss.
Right, because I mean that's already happening. People are already going out
Nothing.
there. They're trying to spend all
So
their
it's
money
gotta be an eye
crazy.
then.
There's like supply and labor shortages because demand is so high right now.
Yeah.
And
And
for all, I mean, it's very
Toss.
possible that, and I'd be curious to watch
Nothing?
the news numbers because I wouldn't be surprised if during COVID,
oh, there we go.
viewership for news and readership had like
Oh, goody.
drastically increased because people are inside more.
Yay.
They don't have anything
Well,
to do.
fuck me.
And now I wonder if it's
But
going to go
yay.
down because people are going outside. They don't want to hear all the negativity that they hear in the news constantly. They're like, okay, COVID's over. I want to be free. I want to be happy. Leave me alone, news. Leave me alone.
Yeah. These,
Cool.
When you talk
Be right
about someone other than the useful idiots on television,
I am
I
coming!
think we're both in agreement that Joy just doesn't really know what's going on. She's just parroting what other people are telling
Well,
her.
she
but-
proved it by
Yeah,
asking
totally.
Kimberly Crenshaw if it's Marxist and thinking that's an easy layup proves she has no idea what she's talking about.
Totally. Yeah. She expects Kimberly Crenshaw to say, of course not, it's not Marxist. I would never even, why would I even be thinking about
Right.
Marxism? I'm an academic. I think about empirical science and learning,
Right, right.
learning from the natural world. What are you talking about? I'm a rational materialist here. I'm not a Marxist philosophy person, but really she is. So, but my question is, do you think Kimberly Crenshaw, because I have trouble conceptualizing these Marxists, that are willing to lie to get what they want and what they really want. Like, it's easy for me to slip into conceptualizing them as like the smart school shooter. Like the school shooter goes in wanting to create as much mayhem as possible and kill as many people as he can before he exits this world. But it's easy for me to conceptualize these Marxists as like, I'm going to go on TV and deceive everything and watch society's going to fall apart. Kind of the Joker. I just want to see everything burn. But is that, because Lindsay often talks about him as if that
Hobbies?
really is their motivation, but they have this idea, which is kind of a faith-based principle that in that Joker-like destruction of society, you know, utopia is going to magically rise
Right.
up, which I don't see how you make that connection, but I don't know.
Well, I think
Okay.
with people like Kimberly Crenshaw, she's definitely aware. She's definitely not a useful idiot whatsoever.
right. But
Um,
so does she want to see society fall apart, or is that your take
Well,
on?
well, I don't think she would conceptualize it that way. Obviously, no one,
Figure
very
out how
few
to
people
get
want to see society
back to
fall
that,
apart.
Right.
That's not how they're going to
Some
view it.
do.
Some do.
Yeah.
I think this falls into two categories. There are the Marxist socialists who are
Turn
accelerationist,
this way.
because that's
this
always
way.
been a key theory of Marx, which is that socialism and communism is only going to come about when capitalism reaches some sort of breaking point.
Yeah.
And people revolt. So I
Yeah.
think part of it is they are accelerationist in terms of wanting things to get worse, just to see, you know, things tear apart at the seams, because they think that's how you're going to get revolution, that's how you're going to get change. And they've kind of given up on the economic stuff, so that's why they're focused on the cultural issues. So that's why I'm sure that they look at, you know, the Black Lives Matter riots, specifically the riots, not the protests. They look at the riots and the looting, and to them, that's a good thing.
Yes.
They're not going to admit it, but they're going to say that's proof that society is starting to fall apart at the seams.
Right.
It will kind of lead to the revolution. So I think it could be that, or it could be, as Lindsay talks about, which is that they all buy into the Hegelian idea, the Hegelian alchemy, which is that the way
Can I
to
mine this?
build the perfect utopian society is to pick
Damn it,
apart
I
all the
can't.
bad things in our society, and the perfect society will alchemically form from the ashes of what you pick apart.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that when you say that, it sounds stupid.
It sounds totally ridiculous.
I need
Yeah,
another
exactly.
whatever
I know,
to get.
Yeah, I know that you're like listening
need
to
a
that
tool
like, that's
made
the
of
dumbest thing
nether
I've
to
ever
get the
heard,
end
and I
stuff.
agree with
Yes.
you. Because all you're doing is creating a
Think.
power vacuum that's going to
Yeah,
allow.
which is going to be filled by the far fucking right ethno-nationalists,
Right.
like immediately.
Right, and you said that on Twitter, which I think was very true, which is that a lot of the leftist commie types, they're so dumb because they want to create these power vacuums, which allows, you know, the far right nationalists to come in and swoop in and take the power for themselves. That's what happens. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised
Oh,
if
that
you
was
look at
close.
history that's probably what's happened every time there's been a left-wing revolution.
Well, I think so, and people argue over the labels, but the thing that I always go back to is just the social component. One side of the political spectrum is very cool with hierarchies, and one side of the political spectrum hates hierarchies.
Right.
Which side do you think is more equipped to take power fastest?
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Decide
like
the- yeah.
it's
Right.
like fucking no-brainer, right? I mean,
Right,
it's so
right.
simple.
Well, the problem that the leftists have to contend with, which they never do, is that hierarchies. The reason that our society is structured
Haha.
the way it is
Come and get me now,
around
bitch.
capitalism right now is not because of oppression; it's because of efficiency.
Yeah.
Okay.
Prestige hierarchies versus dominance hierarchies.
Well, not even that. You don't even have to go there. It's that back in the olden days, okay, if you're like a feudal kingdom, you only had to compete really with like your direct surrounding neighbors. And if everyone's doing the same
Oh, that's a
thing,
good point. Yeah.
yeah, and if everyone's doing the same thing, everyone has the same system, then you can get away with having inefficient systems as long as everyone's doing it.
Yeah, they're all running the race with,
Right.
you know, one leg tied behind their back.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
right now, we don't live in
Now
that
I can
world. Right
literally
now,
run.
every country is competing with every other country and human being on the planet
Yes.
on a global scale that's never happened before.
True.
Okay?
Yeah.
And that's why, right. And that's why all of our systems
Although I
right
don't get
now
the feeling
are
like I'm running.
biased towards efficiency.
Efficiency. Yeah.
Okay.
Big time.
And that's not necessarily a good thing. That's obvious. That can lead to lots of negative outcomes.
Sure. Totally.
Right. But my point is that hierarchies and the way that they're structured are generally, not always, but generally at least aimed towards the idea of creating the most efficient work structure possible. And that goes directly into what you're saying, which is, of course, if there's a power vacuum, who's going to take over? The side that's efficient or the side that's going to take 10 hours to decide anything, because every single person's going to fucking yell and vote and they all have to raise their hands and figure
Yeah,
out who the fuck
exactly.
knows what to do.
The leftists are locked out of power in like day one.
Right.
24 hours. Yeah.
And we saw this happen before our eyes multiple
Oh, we're
times.
seeing this happen
was
right now.
Occupy Wall Street, okay? This was the Chaz zone. You have a bunch of these hippy-dippy leftists come along, and they say, oh, we're going to abolish hierarchies, and then nothing gets done.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, that's my only
My
point.
favorite was the,
A lot of right wingers.
man,
like that
I'm just
because
gonna
they're like,
watch this
"The right's
tree
not
grow.
evil. Don't disparage the right.
I'm gonna put my plants
Well,
in
it's not
it.
a
I'm just
question
gonna watch
of
it.
the right
I'm
being
gonna
evil
send
or
it
good.
my
It's a question
love through the power of
whenever
my
there's a vacuum,
mind.
something will rush to fill it. That's just a fact. That's like literally a
Yeah.
biological fact
It's
of
an
nature.
opportunity.
Right, but it's also a fact of society. Whenever there's a vacuum, something will rush to fill it.
Yep.
And so it makes sense that the most corrupt or the most evil people who are willing to do whatever is possible will be
Yes.
the ones quickest to fill the vacuum because they're the ones that are willing to do whatever it takes
Exactly.
to
Yeah.
get there.
Yes. Yeah, I guess these Marxist types are just willing to go that extra mile. Like I have trouble because I have trouble conceptualizing people as just monomaniacally evil, but I guess there are people like that in the world.
Well, I think there's very few people that are monomaniacally evil. They all think that they're doing some just thing. You know,
Right.
I'm sure
Yeah.
Stalin and Castro and all these fucking people, they all had their minds. I'm making my country better. I'm making a little bit better place.
Yeah. Well, that's what Joy Reid.
Well, we'll just have to ask
Right.
Justin
I
Trudeau
weed out
about
this racism here.
Castro.
This is
You know,
terrible.
his dad.
He said he doesn't give a shit. Look at her fucking shit-eating grin.
I know. She's so
I
stoked
got my
about this.
talking point on you. I played the clip of you saying S word. I got you.
In Cupertino, California, to deconstruct their racial identities
That's
and then
not
rank
critical race
themselves
theory.
according to power and privilege. It's intersectionality theory, which was invented
That's
by Kimberly
intersectionality.
Crenshaw.
That's a separate thing.
Which is
So we're teaching intersectionality in
God.
school.
She's literally talked to Kimberly Crenshaw. She's like, intersectionality is not critical race theory.
She does make the argument that she came up with two different things. She's like,
I know.
come on, these are completely different products here.
Intersectionality is
Part
a
of critical
separate
race
thing.
theory.
No, it's
You-
not, dear.
you had her on your
It's not.
show. You know
She's
this.
Yeah, she
No, it's not,
invented
dear.
Here's the
both
bottom line,
things.
Joy.
She
What
invented
you've
both
done in
things.
tonight's segment
She's
is
in-
exactly what
one
I'm
more
fighting
thing.
against. I'm fighting
No.
against the manipulation of language. I'm fighting
Right,
against language
you're fighting against
deconstruction.
wokeness, and you
I'm
don't
trying
like
to basically
corporate
load
wokeness,
all of
etc. I
these
get it.
euphemistic
Yeah,
terms
like,
with subversive
Tim Pool
content. Because
and
otherwise
Vosh
you just say
and,
whatever you want,
ooh,
and then
what's
you
the
back
other
away
guy's
from it
name?
and you
Yeah.
dance
Had
around
pretty
it.
much
It's
figured
not
out
gonna happen.
is
Parents all over this
wokeism.
country, they
That's
know
what
what's
you're
happening in
fighting.
schools, They know what's happening in their public institutions.
And
you're
all of
seeing
these
people
dumb
revolt against
leftists
this
Yes.
divisive identity politics
are
and
a
you can
part of
dance all
the
you want, but you're
wokeism
not
tribe.
gonna stop people from understanding what's happening in
Hello,
their
Mr. Golem.
classrooms.
I actually appreciate that you said that because, Christopher, what you basically, and you admit it yourself, that you've taken all of these sort of wokeness moments, corporate wokeness, corporate sort of woke money, woke capital, the things that annoy conservatives, and you've stuffed it all into the name critical race theory. It's really like, it's like Christopher Rufo theory. You stuffed it all in. Here's what you said. You tweeted this. The
Hey,
activist,
listen,
hold on,
Christopher
one second.
Rufo's
I'm going to
theory
read
sounds-
you to
Hold
you,
on,
and then you can
I'm
respond to
gonna
it. I'm gonna read you to you, and
I'm
then you
gonna
respond.
tell you what you
The
said.
activists
I'm
are
gonna
realizing
make
that their
this
ideas,
point.
once put into
Hammer this home.
How do you fight this charge? Because on one hand, it's sort of true that that's what's happening, but on the other hand, I do think you need a response to this accusation, or do you just ignore it?
I don't know that it's really even important.
It's not even
Because,
possible to ignore.
I mean, there are a
She
lot
won't
of
let
things
you.
that are
She
happening.
goes, no,
They're
no,
arguing
you need
over
to
the
shut up and
definition of
just
critical race
listen to
theory.
his
There's a bunch of
operation
shit being
for
taught
what
in
I'm
schools
telling
that
you,
they're
boy.
obviously against, mostly around like the whiteness, intersectionality type stuff.
Sure.
The people
Oh, there's
who
another
are
tower.
rebelling against what's being taught in schools is they're like, this is building racist stereotypes against whites. I'm white. I don't like that, obviously.
Ah, there's the other tower.
But at the same time, most of them are thinking, well, if they were teaching racist stereotypes against blacks in school, I'd be against that too, right?
Right.
So they're just against schools teaching any kind
Well,
of racist stereotypes. So,
I wonder if it would be productive.
Whoa,
Be good
shit.
rhetoric, good visuals. If you said, well, wait a minute, Joy. So you're saying all these things, all this wokeness, it's not critical race theory, okay? Are you against all this woke stuff? That's not critical
I
race
know.
theory.
I was
Are
thinking
you in
the
favor
same
of it?
thing. I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, oh boy, so tipping her hand that she's big into the woke stuff, right?
Right, because if she...
You need to shut up right now!
It's like, well, okay, so then what are we arguing here? You're basically arguing this very pedantic distinction, which doesn't matter because you're in favor of both wokeness and you're in favor of critical race theory.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But this is why, I'm trying to get past the definitions game, because obviously there's stuff that's being taught in schools that people are against. I don't know that labeling it critical race theory, they're just going to say, oh, that's not critical race theory. Well, I don't give a fuck what you call it. I'm against what they're teaching.
Right.
Like,
But that's right.
so she's basically saying, oh, because we're having the semantic game over critical race theory, that, the real substantive debate about what's being taught in schools is a non-issue. And I'm like, no, it is an issue, right?
Right.
I mean, we were having a debate about something substantive, right?
Well, and I mean, and that could be, and maybe that was the miscalculation from the beginning, was labeling the stuff critical race theory in the first place.
On whose side? Who made the miscalculation though? Because I think this just happened
Rufo.
organically.
I think it started to happen organically, and then Rufo ran with it, and he's even said this publicly, that he wants to tie in every negative woke thing with critical race theory because he understands that there's the power of a label. You need to have some label.
Yeah.
I said to Sam and Aaron, unfortunately, the Marxists have made the term cultural Marxism so toxic you can't talk about it.
You can't come inside.
Which would be the appropriate term. And so I don't know.
No.
True. Yeah.
And it's hard because, as you said, a lot of the stuff happens organically. It's not like you can choose.
Totally.
What to do, but maybe it would have been ideally better to just create some new sticky label. You need Trump. Trump was always good at coming up with some fucking label.
Oh man.
To come in here and just label this something, and then you'd have some word to describe it.
Did you watch his talk? Trump did a rally. One of the guys he was promoting actually did the Trumpism, the nickname for his opponent. I can't remember what the nickname was, but I was like, that nickname is too powerful not to. Someone's going to pick it up. I mean, the left might be afraid of it because it makes him appear Trump-like. Nobody wants to be Trump-like, but that's so useful. Critical race theory. I keep thinking, it's like that word is just so easy to relabel, to reappropriate, because it appears that, like, you could be saying, race is critical to success. You could be saying, like, there's all kinds of things. You could be saying that certain races are critical to what it is to be American.
Right.
So it makes it sound just...
And it has a nice 3-letter acronym,
Yeah, which you could turn that into something so insidious. So
right.
And I have a feeling that's probably the path we're on. Sooner or later, that's going to be... This critical race theory is going in the toilet pretty quick. I don't know why so many on the left I guess they're raising money off it for their political campaigns.
Well, they're just reacting to it. The Republicans are harping on it, so then they're reacting to it. That's all that's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at them, like, some of the laws in some of the states are kind of crappy, and I think they are bad, but some of them are so innocuous. Like Texas's CRT ban, which isn't even a CRT ban. If you actually read the law, it's so incredibly innocuous. No one could be against, like...
Right.
When you actually read it, the way it's, like, talked about. And even the law itself doesn't even ban CRT. You could literally teach CRT under the framework of the law, too. Which is a problem.
Most of the laws are just structured as in, we're not going to allow racism in schools.
Most of the laws say, you're not allowed to teach negative racial stereotypes, or that people are have some inherent trait due to their race, including being racist.
Right, which you would think that's already a law. Right? I mean, this is America.
You would think. You would think.
Yeah.
But that's the problem. This is the same thing with DeSantis in Florida. He had this this bill they just passed. It was like a college survey thing, and at first the news is like just totally lying about this. And they're like, DeSantis is passing a survey that's asking all college students, professors, and faculty, what their political affiliation is. And you hear that, and you go, "Oh, that sounds ominous, right? Like that sounds a little crazy." And I was confused because when I heard that, I thought maybe I could understand you asking the teachers, because then he would try to make a Title IX-esque complaint that all these
with left and right.
Yeah, all these schools are just dominated by people on the left, and there needs to be some ideological balance. But then why would you ask the students? That doesn't make any sense. So I didn't understand that. So I looked into the law, actually read the bill, and it's like, this is a total bullshit. They're not asking people for their political affiliation. They're asking people if they feel like they're free in their classes and in their college campuses to express their political ideas without facing retribution. And they're asking people whether they feel their colleges are politically, allow both sides of the political issue.
Jack, I found it. The
Really?
dreaded
And they
end
miscategorize
lucky
that as
block.
Asking them their political beliefs, like if
Yes.
they answer,
Even
of course I don't feel safe. Up,
either really,
Republican.
really good or really, really
Right,
bad.
it's so dishonest. The report on it is
I
so
want to die,
disgusting.
but
And so many people are like, "Oh my God, DeSantis is like George Orwell. This is fascist."
Oh, right, because I used that to pick it up.
1984, He's asking all the people who they voted for in their colleges. It's like, that's not even what it says. It's crazy.
Wow. Can you imagine a press
Drop the
mischaracterizing
shears?
a politician
Maybe.
for political advantage?
Maybe, let's see.
I know, it's
Because
terrible.
that would
Imagine.
never happen. Not in America. Not in the great nation of America.
And I don't. It frustrates me because I don't know what the solution to that is.
To this mischaracterization of
Yeah, because
your
you can't
political
sue
enemies.
them for libel. And
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
dangerous.
another one?
And I understand it's dangerous. The press should have a lot of freedom in this way.
Two more? Oh,
like,
shit, this
I
is
don't know
not
how to
going to go well,
construct a
chat.
law or a system where the press has the freedom to go after politicians, but they don't have
Three?
the freedom to just fucking lie about shit.
Oh, yeah, this is not going to end well.
Yeah, freedom of expression.
Speaking of.
And people are really
Four?
good at making their lies into opinions so that they don't have to face any kind of defamation lawsuit. Defamation is clearly like
Right.
misstatement of fact. They even go as far as like you have to know that you're mischaracterizing.
Yeah.
It's just like,
No.
come on. Most people don't. Most people actually believe these lies. That takes
Yeah, no.
defamation completely off the table.
Well, and that's the thing, is that it's not just lying about it. They're also, as you said, they're defaming DeSantis, who I don't even like, but they're defaming him because they're saying he's some like fascist,
Yes.
So
They know he's going to be. There's a good chance he's going to be the Republican candidate. They figured out. I can't remember which election it was. I think it was Romney versus somebody. Maybe it was Romney versus Obama. But they figured out in that election cycle that once you establish a narrative about someone, confirmation bias pretty much just takes over.
Right.
And that it's impossible to reverse a narrative once it's implanted in the public lexicon or mindset or whatever you want to call it.
right.
So,
Well,
so now they
wasn't
try to.
Romney. It was Kerry with Swiftboat.
Oh yeah, you're right. So now they try to do this. They're like, okay, well this guy could be the Republican candidate, so we have to implant that narrative immediately, the fascist narrative. We don't want you to be able to say DeSantis's name without thinking of fascists. So we have to establish that narrative early and often. Yeah, which just turns our politics into this, schoolyard food fight from the very get-go, and it's terrible. You don't know anything about the candidate.
That's a great point. They all rush out to establish the narrative first, so it sticks.
So it's like a narrative war going on.
Because I think there was some recent poll that showed DeSantis was actually polling ahead of Trump in, according to Republicans, for if he ran in 2024, which is interesting.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's amazing. So you know how everyone's debating, whether Trump's going to run or not, or whether he's going to say he's going to run and then not actually run.
Yeah.
So here's my prediction. Here's the Sitch prediction. Here's how we'll figure it out. Okay. If Trump is serious about running, at some point in the next 2 years, he will start attacking DeSantis. Okay.
Oh, that's a good point.
He'll come
That's
up with a
great
nickname
point.
for him, and he'll start attacking him. If
That's a
Trump
great
isn't
point.
serious, if Trump isn't serious about running, even if he says he's running and he's not serious about it, he won't attack DeSantis.
That's a
or
great point.
they'll attack him very meekly. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and if he starts supporting DeSantis, it's over. It's completely over. He's not
Right.
running.
Right. Exactly.
DeSantis seems like their man. He seems like straight out of Central Casting, and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, he seems like he can sort of levy a lot of the Trump politics, but he doesn't have the
The
awful
baggage.
trolling disposition that
Yeah.
Trump has.
Yeah. Yes, which is good.
Though I think DeSantis is a wolf in sheep's clothing for Republicans, because I think he's going to turn out to be just another neo-lib neocon pretending to be a populist.
Mm-hmm.
That's my prediction. So we'll see.
Really?
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes.
Neo-lib, neocon.
Yeah,
Aren't those contradictory positions?
not at all.
Bread tube is exploding right now that you said that.
This is the problem. We need.
I know.
I need a label to describe neo-lib neocons. That's just one word that doesn't confuse people.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, what do you call them? Reagan-esque Republicans? But I think people will get confused by that too, because they don't even realize that
Free.
that's what Reagan was
It's
for.
like a free market thing, right? Neoliberal is free market.
It's like laissez-faire capitalist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Maybe I should just say anti-populist Republican. Maybe that would be the best
If
way
the
to describe
Republicans would learn their MMT, they would realize that you're actually protectionism is anti-populist. It's more populist to be anti-protectionist.
it. Well, I don't know what you mean by that.
The stuff coming in from overseas is like a net gain.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but
Yeah.
historically, populists have always been pro-protectionist. So.
Right. Well, no, I mean, I'm for the protectionism. I want to protect
Right.
American workers and all that kind of stuff.
Hitch Waxter for $20 says if you insist on beating the CRT horse some more, you really must check out Ryan Chapman. Small channel, very well researched and politically neutral, touches all your favorite topics, highly recommended. Also A-Team, obviously.
Obviously. I mean,
You're
it's
starting to
obvious.
You're starting to get your A-Team back. I think the last couple of weeks, some hard times for A-Team, and now you're
Really?
you're
No,
getting
A-Team
back.
loves me.
But no, I agree. Ryan Chapman's channel is fantastic. I actually sent Adam his video, CRT video, a couple weeks ago.
The only thing I was disappointed about is there wasn't any dark, brooding music in that video by Ryan Chapman. And also, I didn't like the fact that he just brushed over the Marxist stuff. He's like, I don't think you should have to understand Marxist philosophy to know that CRT is
Okay,
garbage. I was
this
like,
is where I'm
"What?
going to save.
Well, he
I'm
has a
only
whole video
scared
on
because of the
those-
Marxism."
In the
He
end,
has like a whole video on those specific topics that are separate.
Right.
that is
And so
going
I
to be
understand his point was basically, you should be able to argue